Hello guys, welcome to Scion What If. So in this video, we will see what if Goku mastered every technique. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The Path of Infinite Techniques. The Tournament of Power had ended months ago, but Goku couldn't shake what he'd seen there. Fighters from across the multiverse, many physically weaker than him, had nearly taken him down with techniques he'd never imagined. He'd won through raw power and the Ultra Instinct transformation, sure, but something nagged at him as he lay in the grass outside his mountain home, arms folded behind his head. "I'm missing something," he muttered to the clouds drifting above. The realization had been building since he watched Hit manipulate time, since Tokpo had harnessed destruction energy, since that weird guy from Universe 4 had made copies of himself. All these fighters had something he didn't: variety. Goku sat up suddenly, smacking his fist into his palm. That's it. He jumped to his feet, energy surging through his body at the thought. All his life, he'd focused on getting stronger, hitting harder, moving faster. But what if true mastery meant something else? A familiar voice called from the direction of his house. "Dad. Mom says dinner's ready." "Coming, Goten." Goku called back, his mind still racing with possibilities. Inside their modest home, Chi-Chi had prepared a feast that would have fed a small village, or one hungry scion. Goku took his usual seat, immediately grabbing for rice and meat. "Slow down," Chi-Chi scolded, though there was no real edge to her voice anymore. After nearly dying so many times, she'd learned to appreciate her husband's quirks. "Sorry," Goku said through a mouthful, "just hungry after training." "You're always hungry," Goten giggled, trying to keep pace with his father's eating. Halfway through his third bowl, Goku paused. "Hey, Chi-Chi." His wife looked up, surprised by the thoughtful tone. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about something. Remember when we first met at the World Tournament? You used that fighting style your dad taught you." Chi-Chi's eyebrows rose. "The Ox King style? That was ages ago." "Yeah. Could you show me some of those moves tomorrow?" The chopsticks in Chi-Chi's hand clattered to the table. "You want me to teach you martial arts?" "Just some of your techniques. I realize today that I've been going about training all wrong. I keep trying to get stronger, but I'm ignoring all these amazing techniques that other fighters use." Chi-Chi studied her husband's face. After 20 years of marriage, she knew when Goku was excited about something, and right now, his eyes had that same sparkle they got before a big fight. "I guess I could show you a few forms," she said cautiously. "Great." Goku shoved another massive bite into his mouth. "And after that, I'm gonna visit Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, everyone. I bet they all have techniques I never bothered to learn." Goten looked up excitedly. "Can I come too, Dad?" "Sure thing, kiddo. This'll be great training for you too." Chi-Chi sighed, recognizing the beginning of another Goku training obsession. "Just don't forget you promised to help with the harvest next week." "I won't." Goku promised, already mentally listing all the fighters whose techniques he wanted to learn. The next morning broke clear and cool over Mount Paozu. Goku woke before dawn, something he rarely did unless Whis was scheduled to train him. He slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Chi-Chi, and headed outside to warm up. By the time the sun crested the mountains, he was deep in his standard routine, shadowboxing at super speed, practicing energy control, and running through the katas that Master Roshi had taught him decades ago. "Your form is sloppy," Chi-Chi called as she stepped outside, wearing a simple training gi he hadn't seen in years. Goku stopped mid-punch, grinning sheepishly. "Guess I've been focused on power more than form lately." "That's always been your problem," she said, stepping onto the grass. "The Ox King style is all about precise form and balance." For the next hour, Goku watched in genuine amazement as his wife demonstrated techniques he'd never seen her use. Chi-Chi might have given up fighting years ago, but her body remembered every movement. She flowed through complex forms that emphasized redirecting an opponent's energy, strikes targeted at pressure points, and defensive stances that could withstand attacks from much larger opponents. "This is amazing, Chi-Chi!" Goku exclaimed, attempting to mirror her movements. "How come I never asked you to show me this stuff before?" "Because you were always too busy chasing the next powerful opponent," she replied, correcting his arm position. "These techniques won't help you blow up a planet, but they might save your life against an enemy who's technically more skilled." Goku's eyes widened. "That's exactly what I need." By mid-morning, Goten had joined them, quickly picking up his mother's techniques with the natural talent of a half-Saiyan child. The family training session was something so rare that Goku found himself enjoying it as much for the companionship as for the new skills. "You're a quick learner when you actually pay attention," Chi-Chi remarked, genuine pride in her voice. "I've got a good teacher," Goku replied with a wink that made her blush like they were teenagers again. After a quick lunch, Goku placed 2 fingers to his forehead. "I'm heading to Kame House to see Krillin. Want to come, Goten?" "Yeah." The boy jumped up excitedly. Chi-Chi waved them off. "Don't stay out too late." "And Goku," her voice softened, "I'm glad you're taking an interest in different fighting styles. It's smart." Goku beamed at the rare compliment from his wife. "Thanks, Chi-Chi. We'll be back for dinner." With Goten holding his hand, Goku focused on Krillin's energy signature and vanished. They materialized on the beach of the small island where Master Roshi's pink house stood unchanged by time. Krillin was outside, moving through a solo training routine that looked nothing like the turtle school style Goku remembered. "Yo, Krillin!" Goku called out. Krillin spun around, dropping his stance. "Goku! Goten! What brings you guys here?" "Dad wants to learn techniques from everyone," Goten announced before Goku could speak. Krillin raised an eyebrow. "Everyone? That's new. Usually you're just looking for sparring partners." "Yeah, well." Goku scratched the back of his head. "The tournament of power got me thinking. I rely too much on transformations and raw power. But there were fighters there who almost beat me with techniques I'd never seen before. So you want to learn my techniques?" Krillin looked genuinely surprised. "No offense, buddy, but you've been stronger than me since we were kids." "Being stronger isn't the same as being a better fighter," Goku said, repeating what Chi-Chi had told him that morning. "Your Destructo Disc, that blinding technique you use, those could be game changers against the right opponent." Krillin's face broke into a wide smile. "Well, I never thought I'd see the day when Son Goku came to me for training. Come on, let's get started." For the next few hours, Krillin demonstrated his signature techniques. The Destructo Disc proved particularly challenging for Goku, not generating the attack, but controlling its path with precision. "It's not about how much ki you put into it," Krillin explained after Goku's disc flew wildly into the ocean. "It's about maintaining consistent energy throughout the disc while directing it with your mind. Man, this is harder than it looks." Goku laughed after another failed attempt. "You make it seem so easy." "Because I've been practicing it for decades," Krillin replied. "You can't expect to master these techniques overnight, Goku." Goten, meanwhile, was having better luck with the solar flare technique, much to 18's dismay when she stepped outside only to be temporarily blinded. "Sorry, Aunt." 18. Goten called out as the blonde woman cursed. "Maybe practice that one facing the ocean," Krillin suggested diplomatically. By late afternoon, Goku had made progress with the Destructo Disc, though his control was still shaky. More importantly, he'd gained new respect for the technical precision that Krillin brought to his fighting style. "This has been great, Krillin," Goku said as they took a break. "Tomorrow I'm planning to visit Tien to learn some of his techniques." "The multiform?" Krillin asked. "That's a tough one. Splits your power level, though. Still could be useful in the right situation," Goku replied thoughtfully. I want to learn everything, Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist, Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon, even Hercule's tricks. Hercule? Krillin burst out laughing. The guy's a fraud. Maybe, but he survived in the ring against opponents who should have destroyed him. There's something to learn there. Krillin studied his oldest friend with newfound respect. You're serious about this, aren't you? Never been more serious about anything, Goku confirmed. Well, except maybe food. After saying their goodbyes and promising to return for more training, Goku and Goten teleported back home, arriving just as Chi-Chi was finishing dinner preparations. How'd it go? She asked, noticing the tired but satisfied look on both their faces. Dad kept sending Destructo discs into the ocean. Goten reported cheerfully. One almost hit Master Roshi's boat. Chi-Chi shot Goku a look that mixed exasperation with amusement. So it went well, then. It was eye-opening, Goku admitted, washing up for dinner. Krillin's techniques require so much control. It's a completely different kind of training than what I'm used to. Throughout dinner, Goku shared his plans to visit all their fighter friends, learning everything he could from each one. Chi-Chi listened more attentively than usual. This was the first time in years that Goku had approached training with a thoughtful strategy rather than just seeking stronger opponents. Just don't forget about your family in all this, she reminded him as they cleaned up after the meal. Are you kidding? You guys are part of this. Goku wrapped an arm around her waist. I learned more from you this morning than I have in months of training alone. Chi-Chi couldn't help smiling at that. Well, there's plenty more where that came from. The Ox King style has hundreds of forms. And I want to learn them all, Goku said with conviction. Over the next 2 weeks, Goku created a rigorous schedule that took him across the planet. Each day, he visited different fighters to learn their signature techniques. Tien taught him the multiform technique and the tri-beam, though he warned Goku about the life force cost of the latter. Yamcha, despite having largely retired from fighting, eagerly demonstrated the finer points of the Wolf Fang Fist and his baseball-inspired fighting techniques. Master Roshi, delighted by his former student's new approach to training, revealed several Turtle School techniques he'd never taught Goku or Krillin, claiming they hadn't been ready. Even Yajirobe contributed, showing Goku sword techniques that, while seemingly useless to a fighter who preferred his fists, contained principles of movement that could be applied to any combat situation. Each evening, Goku returned home tired but exhilarated, often practicing late into the night to integrate what he'd learned. Chi-Chi, seeing his dedication, began joining him for evening training sessions, refining his understanding of her family's fighting style. After those first 2 weeks, Goku sat cross-legged outside his home, eyes closed in meditation, another skill he'd neglected over the years. He was cataloging all the techniques he'd learned so far and planning the next phase of his training when he sensed a familiar energy approaching. "Hey, Piccolo," he called out without opening his eyes. The Namekian landed silently a few feet away. "Gohan told me about your new training regimen." Goku opened his eyes and grinned. "Was gonna come see you next. Your special beam cannon would be really useful." "It took me months to perfect that technique," Piccolo said with a hint of pride. "And years to develop my ability to stretch my limbs, regenerate efficiently, and perform the other abilities unique to Namekians. I know it won't be easy," Goku stood up, stretching. "But that's what makes it worth doing." Piccolo studied him carefully. "This is different from your usual training approach. The tournament of power changed things. All those fighters with techniques I'd never seen before, it got me thinking about what true mastery means." "And what conclusion did you reach?" "That I've been going about it all wrong," Goku admitted. "Always chasing the next transformation, the next power level. But real mastery isn't just about raw power." Piccolo nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "Perhaps you're finally maturing as a martial artist." "Hey, I've always taken fighting seriously." "You've taken getting stronger seriously." "That's not the same thing." The criticism stung, but Goku knew Piccolo was right. "So will you teach me?" "On one condition," Piccolo crossed his arms. You have to approach this with the proper mindset. These aren't just attacks to add to your arsenal. Each technique represents a different philosophy of combat. I understand, Goku said solemnly. We'll see. Piccolo removed his weighted cape and turban. Let's begin with something simple, my arm extension technique. For the remainder of the day, Piccolo pushed Goku harder than any of his other friends had, demanding perfection with each attempt at a new technique. By sunset, Goku had made minimal progress with the special beam cannon but had gained valuable insights into Namekian fighting philosophy. You're thinking too much like a scion, Piccolo observed as Goku attempted the drilling beam attack again. Brute force and determination won't make this work. It requires precision and mental clarity. I'm trying, Goku wiped sweat from his forehead. It's just so different from the Kamehameha. Exactly. That's why you need to learn it. Piccolo demonstrated again, firing a perfect beam that pierced through 3 distant mountains. Come back tomorrow. Meditate tonight on what I've shown you. As Piccolo prepared to leave, Goku asked the question that had been forming in his mind throughout the day. Piccolo, how many distinct martial arts styles do you think exist across all the universes? The Namekian considered this. Countless thousands, I imagine. Why? I want to learn them all, Goku said simply. Piccolo's eyes widened slightly before he regained his composed expression. Even if you lived 1,000 years, you couldn't master every technique in existence. Maybe not, Goku admitted. But I can try. After Piccolo departed, Goku returned home to find Gohan waiting for him. His older son rarely visited without calling first, and the serious expression on his face suggested this wasn't a casual stop-by. Mom told me about your new training, Gohan said after they'd greeted each other. Sounds intense. It is. But in a different way than usual. I'm using my brain more than my muscles. Gohan smiled. That's why I'm here. I thought maybe I could help. You want to teach me the great Saiyaman poses? Goku asked excitedly. Dad, be serious, Gohan laughed. I meant with the scholarly approach. Learning new techniques isn't just physical, it's about understanding the theory behind them. Goku hadn't considered this aspect. You think that would help? Definitely. Take the special beam cannon, Piccolo mentioned you were struggling with it. That technique works on principles of energy drilling and rotation. If you understand the physics, whoa, slow down, Goku held up his hands. Physics? Sorry, Gohan adjusted his glasses. What I mean is, I could help you understand why techniques work the way they do. That might make them easier to master. Goku considered this. His son had always been the thinker in the family. Okay, I'm in. When do we start? How about now? Let's go through what you've learned so far and break it down systematically. For the next few hours, Gohan helped Goku categorize the techniques he'd learned, explaining the underlying principles that connected seemingly disparate fighting styles. What had been a somewhat haphazard collection of moves began to take shape as a coherent system in Goku's mind. This is amazing, Gohan. Goku exclaimed as they mapped everything out on paper. I never realized how many techniques are actually based on the same principles. That's the beauty of martial arts, Gohan replied. Infinite variation built on fundamental truths. As they worked, Chi-Chi brought them snacks, watching with undisguised pride as her husband and son bonded over something that combined Goku's passion for fighting with Gohan's intellectual approach. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Goku sat outside again, attempting to meditate as Piccolo had instructed. His mind kept wandering to all the techniques he'd learned and those still waiting to be mastered. A sudden shift in the air made him open his eyes. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just his familiar yard under moonlight. Then a ripple seemed to move through reality itself, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Goku jumped to his feet, instantly alert. Who's there? The distortion intensified, forming a roughly humanoid shape that solidified into a figure unlike any Goku had seen before. Tall and slender, the being had skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its face featured no mouth, just eyes that glowed with an inner light. Son Goku, the figure spoke directly into his mind. The one who seeks all techniques. That's right, Goku replied, settling into a defensive stance. And who are you? I am Prism, a collector. The being's form rippled again. We have observed your recent activities with great interest. Collectors? Never heard of you. Few have. We exist between the dimensions, gathering and preserving the fighting techniques of all worlds. Goku relaxed slightly, intrigued. So you're like, technique librarians? A sound like crystalline laughter echoed in his mind. A simplification, but not entirely inaccurate. We have spent millennia cataloging the martial knowledge of the multiverse. That's incredible. Goku stepped forward eagerly. Would you teach me some? The being's colors darkened. That is not our purpose. We preserve techniques, ensuring they are not lost to time. We do not interfere. Then why are you here? To warn you. Prism's form solidified further. Your quest has not gone unnoticed. There are those among us who view your actions with concern. What's concerning about wanting to learn? It is not learning itself that concerns us, but the concentration of so much knowledge in one being. Some techniques were never meant to be combined. Goku frowned. I just want to become a better martial artist. Your intentions may be pure, but power unchecked can lead to unforeseen consequences. Prism's form began to fade. We will be watching, son Goku. And we are not alone in our interest. Wait. Goku called out. What do you mean? Who else is watching? But the being had already dissolved back into the night air, leaving Goku with more questions than answers. The next morning, Goku recounted his strange encounter to Chi-Chi and Gohan over breakfast. A technique collector. Gohan looked skeptical. I've never read about anything like that in any of the cosmic lore books. It was real, Goku insisted. I could sense its energy, weird energy, but definitely there. And it warned you against learning too many techniques? Chi-Chi asked, concerned. Maybe you should listen, Goku. If these beings have been around for millennia. No way. Goku shook his head firmly. If anything, this just proves I'm on the right track. There must be techniques out there more powerful than I imagined if someone's worried about me learning them. Gohan adjusted his glasses. Dad, not everything has to be about finding more power. It's not about power this time, Goku insisted. It's about becoming complete as a martial artist. Well, be careful, Chi-Chi warned. I don't like the sound of these collectors watching you. After breakfast, Goku teleported to Capsule Corporation, hoping to speak with Vegeta about his encounter and continue his technique training. He found the Saiyan Prince in the gravity chamber, as expected. Kakarot, Vegeta acknowledged him without breaking his training routine. What brings you here? Goku explained his new training regimen and the strange visitor from the previous night. To his surprise, Vegeta actually stopped his workout to listen. Technique collectors. Vegeta scoffed when Goku finished. Sounds like nonsense. That's what I thought at first, but this Prism guy seemed pretty serious. And you want to learn every fighting technique in existence? Vegeta's tone was incredulous. That's impossible, even for you. Maybe, but I have to try. After seeing all those different fighters in the Tournament of Power, those fighters lost, Vegeta interrupted. We won because of Saiyan power and Ultra Instinct, not fancy techniques. We barely won, Goku corrected him. And some of those techniques nearly took us out. Imagine if we had those skills on top of our Saiyan strength. Vegeta considered this, arms crossed. You might have a point. But don't expect me to teach you my techniques. Ah, come on, Vegeta. Your final flash is amazing, and that new attack you used against Tokpo, my techniques are mine, Vegeta said firmly. Developed through my own blood and sweat. Find your own path, Kakarot. Though disappointed, Goku respected Vegeta's position. Fair enough. But will you at least spar with me? I want to test some of the new moves I've learned. A smirk crossed Vegeta's face. Now that, I'm happy to do. For the next several hours, they battled in the gravity chamber, with Goku incorporating his newly learned techniques into his fighting style. Vegeta was surprised, and though he'd never admit it, impressed, by how effectively Goku combined Tien's multiform with Krillin's Destructo Disc, or how he'd adapted the Wolf Fang Fist to work with his Saiyan strength. You're fighting, differently, Vegeta observed during a brief pause. Good different or bad different? Just different, Vegeta wiped blood from his lip. Less predictable. It's annoying. Goku grinned, recognizing the closest thing to a compliment he'd get from the prince. Thanks. Still got a lot to learn though. As they resumed their sparring, Bulma's voice came over the intercom. Goku, there's something weird happening outside. You might want to see this. They halted their match and hurried outside, where Bulma pointed to the sky. A shimmering distortion, similar to what Goku had seen the night before, was forming above Capsule Corporation. That's like the collector I saw. Goku exclaimed. The distortion expanded, and 3 figures emerged, all with the same color-shifting skin as Prism, but with distinct forms and features. Son Goku, the central figure projected into their minds. I am Nexus, Elder of the Collectors. We have come to speak with you directly. Fine by me, Goku called up. Want to come down here so we don't have to shout. The 3 beings descended, their bodies seeming to flow rather than fly. Up close, Goku could see that each had unique patterns swirling across their skin. This is highly irregular, the one called Nexus communicated. We rarely interact with beings of your dimension. Yet here you are, Vegeta said suspiciously. What do you want with Kakarot? We have been observing his quest to master all techniques, Nexus replied. Such an endeavor has not been attempted in 10,000 years. Goku's eyes widened. Someone else tried this before. Yes. A being from what you would now call Universe 3. He succeeded in mastering 3,000 distinct techniques before the accumulated knowledge proved incompatible with his physical form. What happened to him? Bulma asked, scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. He ascended beyond physical form, one of the other collectors answered. Or perhaps a better term would be, disintegrated. Goku swallowed hard. That doesn't sound good. It is why we caution against your current path, Nexus continued. Some techniques oppose each other on a fundamental level. Water against fire. Creation against destruction. Mind against body. So what? Vegeta interjected. Scions are made of stronger stuff than whatever weakling tried this before. The 3rd collector, who had remained silent until now, moved forward. We did not come merely to warn. We came to test. Before anyone could react, the collector shot forward, its arm transforming into something like a blade that slashed toward Goku's chest. Goku barely managed to dodge, feeling the edge graze his GI. Hey! What's the big idea? He shouted, jumping back into a defensive stance. Demonstrating our point, the aggressive collector replied. I am Cypher, youngest of our order. If you truly wish to master all techniques, then prove yourself worthy against one who already commands many. Vegeta stepped forward, energy flaring, but Goku held up a hand. Wait. I want to see what he can do. Cypher's body rippled, settling into a fighting stance Goku recognized from the Crane School, Tien style. Your first lesson begins now. Without warning, Cypher attacked again, moving with perfect technical precision. Goku defended, surprised by the speed and fluidity of the strikes. Just as he adapted to the Crane style, Cypher's movements shifted completely, flowing into Master Roshi's Turtle School forms. He's switching styles mid-fight. Bulma observed from a safe distance. Not just switching, Vegeta noted. Perfectly executing each one. Goku found himself on the defensive as Cypher cycled through fighting styles from across the universe, some familiar, most completely foreign to him. Each attack came with perfect form, each defense anticipated his responses with uncanny accuracy. This is incredible! Goku exclaimed, actually enjoying the challenge despite taking several solid hits. How many techniques do you know? 7,412, Cypher answered without breaking his assault. Mastered over 3 centuries of existence. Goku whistled, ducking under a spinning kick. That's impressive. But, he caught Cypher's next strike with one hand, knowing techniques isn't everything. With that, Goku transformed into Super Saiyan, his golden aura erupting around him. The sudden power increase caught Cypher off guard, allowing Goku to land a solid counter that sent the collector sliding backward. Impressive power, Cypher acknowledged. But predictable application. The collector's form shifted again, this time taking on a stance Goku had never seen. When Cypher moved, his attack seemed to flow around Goku's energy rather than against it, using the Super Saiyan aura itself as a conduit for strikes that hit from impossible angles. What is this? Goku gasped as pain lanced through his shoulder from a blow he hadn't even seen. The Void Current style, Cypher explained. Developed in Universe 11 by beings who exist partially in another dimension. It uses an opponent's energy field as a pathway for attacks. Despite his Super Saiyan power, Goku found himself taking more hits than he landed. Each time he adjusted to one style, Cypher would switch to another, keeping him perpetually off balance. After several minutes of this, Nexus raised a hand. Enough. The demonstration is complete. Cypher immediately backed off, his form relaxing. Goku. Powered down, breathing heavily but grinning from ear to ear. That was amazing. You've got to teach me some of those styles. The 3 collectors exchanged what seemed like surprised glances, though without proper faces it was hard to tell. You still wish to pursue this path? Nexus asked. After experiencing firsthand the disadvantage of facing multiple unknown techniques. Are you kidding? That just makes me want to learn even more. Goku stepped forward eagerly. I've never seen most of those moves before. The way you used my own energy against me, that's exactly the kind of thing I need to learn. Cypher's colors darkened. You do not understand the risks. Maybe not, Goku admitted. But I understand the potential. Think about it, if I can master even half the techniques you know, combined with my Saiyan strength and transformations, I could protect Earth from threats we haven't even imagined yet. Nexus studied Goku silently for a moment. Your motivation is protection, not power for its own sake. Of course. I mean, I love fighting and getting stronger, but what's the point if I can't protect my friends and family? The 3 collectors conferred among themselves, their colors swirling and mixing in what appeared to be an intense discussion. Finally, Nexus turned back to Goku. We cannot teach you our techniques directly, that would violate our primary directive of non-interference. However, Nexus paused. We will not actively impede your quest, provided your intentions remain pure. And, Cypher added, we will observe your progress with interest. Perhaps you will succeed where others have failed. Or perhaps, the 3rd collector spoke again, you will attract the attention of those who would see your quest end permanently. With those cryptic words, the 3 beings began to fade, their forms becoming transparent. Wait! Goku called out. What do you mean? Who would want to stop me? But they had already vanished, leaving only Nexus's final warning echoing in their minds, beware the anti-key. It comes. The anti-key? Bulma repeated once the collectors had completely disappeared. What could that mean? Nothing good, Vegeta growled. Kakarot, These beings are clearly trying to manipulate you for some purpose. I don't know, Goku said thoughtfully. They seemed genuinely concerned. And that cipher guy had some serious skills. That's what worries me, Bulma interjected. If these collectors have been gathering techniques for millennia, who knows what other knowledge they possess? Goku shrugged. All the more reason to continue my training. If something called the anti-ki is coming, I want to be ready with more than just ki attacks. For once, I agree with you, Vegeta said reluctantly. Diversifying your techniques is tactically sound. Bulma looked from one scion to the other. Well, if you're going to continue this crazy quest, at least let me help. How? Goku asked. I can develop training equipment specifically designed to help you master different types of techniques more efficiently. Maybe even some kind of database to help you organize what you learn. That would be great, Bulma. Thanks. As they discussed the possibilities, none of them noticed a fourth distortion briefly forming in the sky above, smaller than the others, but watching intently before vanishing without a trace. Over the next few weeks, Goku's training intensified. With Bulma's help, he created a systematic approach to learning and categorizing techniques, ki-based techniques like the special beam cannon and destructo disc, physical techniques like the wolf fang fist and ox king style hybrid techniques that combined energy and physical movements, mental techniques for telepathy, energy sensing, and psychological warfare, defensive techniques focusing on evasion, countering, and energy absorption. Each morning began with meditation supervised by Piccolo, who grudgingly admitted that Goku was showing unprecedented focus. Afternoons were spent with different teachers, sometimes visiting other worlds with Whis. Helped to learn from fighters across the universe. Evenings were devoted to integrating what he'd learned, testing combinations under Gohan's analytical eye to determine which techniques complemented each other and which caused dangerous interference. Chi-Chi, seeing how serious Goku was about this new approach, fully supported him, even arranging her schedule to continue teaching him her family's fighting style. Their training sessions became a new way for them to connect, with Chi-Chi discovering that her husband, for all his raw power, genuinely respected and valued her technical precision. One evening, as they practiced under the stars, Chi-Chi paused to observe Goku perfectly executing a complex form she'd taught him days earlier. "You've really taken to this," she remarked. "I've never seen you so focused on the details before." Goku completed the sequence before responding. "It's like I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back all these years. Relying on transformations and power-ups instead of skill." "Well, the transformations have saved the world more than once," she reminded him. "True, but what happens when we face an enemy immune to ki attacks? Or someone who can block transformations?" Chi-Chi frowned. "You think that's possible? After everything we've seen?" "Definitely." Goku moved into another stance. "Remember what the collectors said about the anti-ki? You really believe them?" "I believe something's coming," Goku said with unusual seriousness. "And I want to be ready with every possible tool at my disposal." Chi-Chi studied her husband's face, seeing a determination there that went beyond his usual pre-battle excitement. This was something deeper, a mature understanding of his responsibility as Earth's protector. "Well then," she said, settling into an offensive stance, "let's make sure you're ready." 2 months into his training, Goku had made remarkable progress. He'd mastered dozens of techniques that had previously been beyond his understanding, from Tien's multiform to Piccolo's special beam cannon. He'd even convinced Vegeta to share a few of his signature moves, though the prince would never admit to doing so willingly. Bulma had created a special training room that could record and analyze Goku's movements, helping him perfect each technique down to the smallest detail. She'd also developed a database containing information on every known fighting style on Earth, which Goku studied during rare moments of downtime. Even Master Roshi was impressed. "You've learned more in 2 months than most fighters learn in decades," the old master remarked as he watched Goku perfect a forgotten turtle school technique. "I've had good teachers," Goku replied with genuine humility. "And a good student makes all the difference," Roshi stroked his beard thoughtfully. "You know, there's one more technique I've never taught anyone. Too dangerous, I always thought. Goku's eyes lit up. What is it? The Thunder Shock Surprise, my full version, not the watered-down one you've seen. It allows the user to generate and control electrical energy on a massive scale. Like when you fought Ganos in the Tournament of Power. That was nothing, Rashi scoffed. The true technique can generate lightning powerful enough to vaporize mountains. I sealed it away after nearly destroying an island by accident in my youth. That sounds amazing. When can we start? Rashi chuckled. Always eager. Tomorrow, if you're ready. But Goku, his voice grew serious, this technique requires perfect control. One slip could be catastrophic. I understand, Master. I'll be careful. As Rashi departed, promising to return the next day, Goku sensed a familiar distortion in reality. Sure enough, Prism appeared beside him a moment later. Son Goku, the collector greeted him. Your progress exceeds our predictions. Thanks. I think. Goku studied the being curiously. Have you been watching me this whole time? Observing, yes. Your integration of disparate techniques is unprecedented. Is that a good thing? It remains to be seen. Prism's colors shifted to deeper blues. However, I have come with information. The anti-ki approaches more rapidly than we anticipated. Goku's expression hardened. What exactly is this anti-ki? You guys keep mentioning it without explaining. It is a cosmic force, the antithesis of life energy as you understand it. Where ki builds and creates, anti-ki nullifies and erases. Like destruction energy that Topo and Beerus use? No. Destruction energy is still energy, still ki, albeit specialized. Anti-ki is its opposite, its negation. When it manifests, all ki-based techniques become useless or even dangerous to their users. Goku's eyes widened as he realized the implications. So all my energy attacks, my transformations, would be neutralized or turned against you, Prism confirmed. This is why your current path has value. Physical techniques, magical abilities, fighting styles that do not rely on ki, these may be your only recourse when the anti-ki arrives. How long do we have? We cannot say with certainty. Months, perhaps. The anti-ki manifests differently across timelines and universes. Is there a way to fight it directly? Prism's form wavered slightly. There are theories. Ancient techniques developed during previous anti-ki events. But these are among the most closely guarded secrets of the collectors. And let me guess, you can't share them? I should not, Prism acknowledged. But the collector hesitated, colors swirling rapidly. There is one among us who believes you may be the universe's best hope against what comes. They wish to meet with you. Who? Lord Cypher, the one you battled before. He has walked the path you now travel, though for different reasons. He believes you may succeed where others failed. And he wants to help me. Against the consensus of our order, yes. Prism's form began to fade. He will contact you soon, at the sacred place where heaven touches earth. Wait, what does that mean? Where heaven touches earth? But Prism had already vanished, leaving Goku alone with this cryptic clue. The lookout, Den said immediately when Goku relayed Prism's message. It must be referring to the lookout. It's literally where heaven touches earth. Goku had gathered his closest friends, Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, and Vegeta, at Capsule Corp to discuss this latest development. Dend had been invited as well, given his knowledge of cosmic matters. So this cipher wants to meet you at the lookout, Piccolo summarized. To teach you techniques that could counter something called the anti-ki. Apparently, Goku nodded. And from what Prism said, this anti-ki would make all our energy attacks useless. That's troubling. Gohan adjusted his glasses. Almost all our strongest abilities rely on key manipulation. Which is exactly why Dad's technique training makes sense, Goten chimed in. The boy had insisted on joining the meeting, arguing that he'd been involved from the beginning. Vegeta crossed his arms. I still don't trust these collectors. Why would one of them suddenly decide to help you against their own rules? Maybe he has his own agenda, Krillin suggested. But even so, if this anti-key thing is real, we need all the help we can get. I agree, Den said. As guardian of Earth, I've felt disturbances lately. Subtle shifts in the planet's energy field that I couldn't explain. This could be the early effects of what they're describing. Goku stood up decisively. Then it's settled. I'll meet Cypher at the lookout and learn whatever he's willing to teach me. Not alone, you won't, Chi-Chi said firmly. I'm coming with you. Chi-Chi, it could be dangerous, all the more reason you'll need someone watching your back, she insisted. Besides, I want to see these techniques myself. Goku knew better than to argue when his wife had that look in her eye. Alright, you can come. Anyone else? Count me in, Gohan said. And me. Goten added excitedly. Someone needs to make sure you don't do anything foolish, Piccolo grumbled, which everyone correctly interpreted as his way of volunteering. Vegeta sighed dramatically. Fine. I'll come too. If only to prove these collectors aren't as impressive as you think. With the matter decided, they agreed to meet at the lookout the following morning. As everyone departed, Bulma pulled Goku aside. I've been working on something that might help, she said, handing him a small device that looked like a wristwatch. It's a technique analyzer. It records the energy patterns of any attack used near you, breaking them down into their fundamental components. That's amazing, Bulma. Goku strapped it on immediately. How does it work? Just press this button when you see a new technique. It'll store the data for later analysis. I thought it might help you learn faster. You're the best. Goku gave her a quick hug. This is exactly what I need. As Goku prepared to teleport home with his family, Vegeta approached him with an uncharacteristically serious expression. Kakarot, he said quietly, ensuring no one else could hear. Be careful tomorrow. If these beings can truly master thousands of techniques, they possess knowledge that could be dangerous in the wrong hands. You're worried about me? Goku grinned. That's new. I'm worried about the safety of Earth, Vegeta corrected him sharply. And, perhaps slightly concerned that you'll get yourself killed before I have the chance to defeat you properly. Goku's grin widened. I'll be careful. Promise. The next morning dawned clear and bright as Goku and his companions gathered at the lookout. Mr. Popo and Den welcomed them, both seeming nervous about the imminent meeting. The lookout has stood as a boundary between realms for millennia, Den explained. If these collectors exist between dimensions as they claim, this would indeed be the perfect meeting place. So how do we contact them? Krillin asked, looking around the empty platform. Just yell really loud. As if in answer to his question, the air before them shimmered with now familiar distortion patterns. Unlike previous manifestations, this one formed a perfect circle, like a doorway between worlds. From this portal emerged a single figure, Cypher, the youngest of the collectors they had met. His color-shifting form seemed more stable today, maintaining a humanoid shape with clearly defined features. Son Goku, Cypher greeted him. And friends. I am pleased you understood my message. Wasn't that hard to figure out, Vegeta commented dryly. Cypher's attention shifted to the Saiyan Prince. Prince Vegeta. Your presence is unexpected. I go where I want, Vegeta replied. Now explain why you've decided to break your precious non-interference rule to help Kakarot. Because the coming threat exceeds our mandate, Cypher said simply. The anti-key is not merely a danger to individual worlds or even universes. It threatens the cosmic balance itself. And you think I can help stop it? Goku asked. I believe you have the potential to master techniques that could counteract its effects. Cypher moved toward the center of the lookout. The collectors have existed for eons, preserving martial knowledge across all dimensions. In that time, we have encountered the anti-ki phenomenon 3 times. What happened? Gohan asked. Devastation on an unimaginable scale. Entire universes rendered lifeless, their energy completely nullified. How was it stopped? Piccolo demanded. In 2 instances, it simply ran its course, dissipating after consuming vast regions of spacetime. In the third, Cypher's colors darkened to deep purple. A group of warriors developed techniques that could repel it. They sacrificed themselves to push the anti-ki back into the void between dimensions. And you know these techniques? Goku stepped forward eagerly. I know of them. Learning them is another matter entirely. Cypher raised a hand, and the air around them shimmered again. They require a fundamental restructuring of how you understand energy manipulation. I'm ready, Goku said with determination. Whatever it takes. Cypher studied him for a moment. Very well. We begin with the most basic principle, anti-ki cannot be fought with ki. You must learn to channel another energy source entirely. Like what? Magic? Like this. Cypher extended his hand, and from it flowed what looked like liquid light, not the familiar glow of ki, but something more substantive, more physical. This is pure life force, drawn not from your own reserves but from the universe itself. It looks similar to the spirit bomb, Gohan observed. The concept is related but distinct, Cypher confirmed. Your spirit bomb gathers ki from willing donors. This technique draws directly from the cosmic life web that connects all existence. For the next several hours, Cypher demonstrated techniques unlike anything they had seen before. Some resembled familiar energy manipulation but operated on completely different principles. Others were entirely foreign, movements and forms that seemed to bend reality itself. Goku threw himself into the training with characteristic enthusiasm, though even he struggled with the alien concepts. Chi-Chi, surprisingly, showed a natural aptitude for some of the more subtle techniques, her precise control and mental discipline proving advantageous. Your mate has potential, Cypher noted to Goku after Chi-Chi perfectly executed a complex form on her first attempt. She's amazing, Goku agreed proudly. Always has been. As the training progressed, Vegeta's initial skepticism gradually gave way to grudging interest. When Cypher demonstrated a technique that created solid weapons from compressed spacetime, weapons that could theoretically cut through anything, even anti-ki, the Saiyan Prince demanded to learn it immediately. Your drive is admirable, Cypher told him. But this technique requires patience above all else. I've spent decades training in the harshest conditions imaginable, Vegeta countered. I know patience. Very well. Cypher guided Vegeta through the initial movements. Focus on the space between moments, the pause between heartbeats. There lies the material from which these weapons are formed. By mid-afternoon, everyone was exhausted but exhilarated. Even Piccolo, who had maintained his characteristic stoicism throughout, admitted that the techniques Cypher taught were unlike anything he had encountered in his long life. You all show remarkable potential, Cypher said as they took a break. Especially you, Son Goku. Your adaptability is unprecedented. Thanks. Goku wiped sweat from his forehead. These techniques are incredible. But will they really be enough to stop the anti-ki? Cypher's colors shifted to a thoughtful blue. Alone, no. But combined with the other techniques you've been mastering, and with your unique ability to push beyond normal limitations, perhaps. There's something you're not telling us, Piccolo said suddenly, his eyes narrowing. What's the real reason you're helping? The collector's form rippled slightly, a reaction they had come to recognize as surprise. Perceptive, Namekian. Yes, there is more to my interest than merely stopping the anti-ki. I knew it, Vegeta muttered. The collectors have preserved techniques for countless millennia, Cypher continued. But preservation alone is not enough. Knowledge unused is knowledge wasted. You want to see these techniques put into practice, Gohan realized. More than that, Cypher's colors brightened. I believe Son Goku represents an opportunity to create something new, a fusion of fighting styles that transcends their individual limitations. An evolution of martial arts itself, Goku said softly. Understanding dawning. Precisely. The anti-ki threatens all we have preserved. But in facing that threat, you may forge a path beyond what any of us have imagined. Cypher's form began to fade slightly. My time here grows short. The others will soon detect my unauthorized activity. Will you come back? Goku asked quickly. There's still so much to learn. I will try. But the techniques I've shared today should occupy your training for weeks to come. Cypher's form continued to dissolve. Focus particularly on the void current and the life-weaving forms. They will serve as foundations for what comes next. As Cypher faded from view, his final words echoed in their minds, the collectors are not united in purpose, Son Goku. Some would help you, others hinder you. Trust your instincts when we next meet. With that cryptic warning, he vanished completely, leaving them alone on the lookout with new knowledge and new questions. Well, that was informative, Krillin said after a moment of silence. And completely terrifying. Indeed, Piccolo agreed. If what Cypher says is true, we face a threat unlike any before. Goku was already practicing one of the new movements, his face set in rare concentration. These techniques feel different. Not like using ki at all. They draw on something deeper, Chi-Chi said thoughtfully. Something more fundamental than energy. Gohan had been taking notes throughout the session and was reviewing them with a scholar's precision. From what I can tell, these techniques operate on principles that bridge quantum mechanics and metaphysics. They're manipulating reality at its most basic level. Nerd talk aside, Vegeta interjected, the question is whether they'll work against this anti-ki. Only one way to find out, Goku said, looking up from his practice. We train until we master them, then hope they're enough when the time comes. As they prepared to leave the lookout, Dend approached Goku. There's something else you should know, the young guardian said quietly. While Cypher was teaching you, I sensed observers. More collectors. I don't think so. This felt different, darker, more hostile. Whatever's coming, I believe it knows we're preparing for it. Goku's expression hardened with determination. Then we'd better prepare faster. The weeks that followed saw Goku's training reach a new level of intensity. With Bulma's technique analyzer recording every detail of what Cypher had taught them, he was able to break down the complex movements into learnable components. Chi-Chi continued to excel at the more precise, controlled techniques, often mastering them before Goku himself. Rather than feeling competitive, he was genuinely proud of her progress, and they began developing combination attacks that utilized both their strengths. Vegeta, true to form, focused on the offensive applications, particularly the space-time weapon formation that had caught his interest. Despite Cypher's warnings about patience, the Saiyan Prince made remarkable progress through sheer determination. Gohan divided his time between his own training and analyzing the theoretical underpinnings of what they were learning. His academic approach yielded insights that helped everyone grasp the alien concepts more quickly. Even Goten and Trunks joined in, their youthful adaptability allowing them to master certain aspects of the training that the adults struggled with. One evening, as Goku practiced in the yard outside his home, he sensed a familiar energy approaching. Piccolo landed silently nearby, watching as Goku moved through one of the more complex forms Cypher had taught. Your form has improved, the Namekian commented after several minutes of observation. Thanks, Goku continued the exercise, each movement flowing perfectly into the next. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. More than that, Piccolo stepped closer. You're integrating these techniques with everything else you've learned. Creating something new. Goku finished the sequence and turned to his friend with a grin. That's the idea, right? Not just learning techniques but making them work together. Indeed. Piccolo removed his weighted cape and turban. Care to demonstrate in a sparring match? For the next hour, they battled under the stars, neither using their full power but both testing the limits of their technical skill. Piccolo was impressed by how seamlessly Goku now incorporated diverse fighting styles into his natural flow, shifting from turtle to crane to Namekian techniques without hesitation, then blending in the alien forms Cypher had taught them. "You've changed," Piccolo observed as they took a break. "Your fighting style used to be predictable, powerful but straightforward. Now. Goku prompted when Piccolo didn't continue. "Now you fight like a true master," the Namekian admitted reluctantly. "Not just strong, but complete." Goku beamed at what might have been the highest compliment Piccolo had ever paid him. "I still have a long way to go, but yeah, it feels different now. Like I'm finally understanding what martial arts is really about. Which is not just power or technique, but harmony. Finding the right approach for each moment, each opponent." Goku looked up at the night sky thoughtfully. "All these years, I've been trying to overcome my limits through transformations. But maybe the real key is transcending limitations through mastery." Piccolo studied his former enemy with newfound respect. "Perhaps you're finally becoming the warrior you were always meant to be." As they resumed their sparring, neither noticed the small distortion forming briefly in the sky above, a watching presence that observed their training with calculating interest. 3 months after Goku began his quest to master every technique, the first signs of the approaching anti-ki manifested. It started subtly, fighters around the world reporting strange fluctuations in their energy control, techniques misfiring or weakening without explanation. Bulma's instruments detected unusual radiation patterns in the upper atmosphere, spreading gradually like ripples across a pond. When she showed the data to Gohan, his expression grew grave. "It's starting, isn't it?" she asked. "I think so," Gohan confirmed. "These patterns match what Cypher described, energy being nullified at a quantum level. How long do we have?" "Days, maybe weeks before the effects become severe." Gohan removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose tiredly. "We need to warn everyone." They convened an emergency meeting at Capsule Corp, gathering all of Earth's fighters to share what they knew and what they had learned. Goku, now the unexpected authority on countering the anti-ki, demonstrated the technique Cypher had taught them. "The key is to stop relying on traditional ki completely," he explained as he moved through one of the forms. "This isn't about energy projection or enhancement. It's about manipulating the fabric of reality itself." "That sounds impossible," Yamcha said skeptically. "So did going Super Saiyan once," Krillin pointed out. "Goku's made a career out of doing the impossible." As the meeting progressed, Bulma's monitoring equipment suddenly blared with alarms. The screens showed massive energy disturbances forming in the atmosphere directly above them. "It's accelerating," she reported tensely. "Whatever's happening, it's happening now." They rushed outside to find the sky torn by swirling vortices of what looked like negative light, darkness that was somehow luminous, anti-energy that devoured the natural colors around it. "The anti-ki," Goku confirmed, feeling his own energy responding strangely to its presence. When he tried to summon his aura, the energy flickered and wavered like a flame in strong wind. "It's affecting our powers already," Vegeta growled, experiencing similar difficulties. As they watched, one of the vortices expanded rapidly, descending toward them like a tornado of unlight. Within its spinning depths, figures began to take shape, humanoid but clearly not human, their bodies composed of the same negative energy as the vortices themselves. "We have visitors," Piccolo said grimly, dropping into a defensive stance. The lead figure touched down before them, its form solidifying into something resembling a warrior in armor made of crystallized darkness. When it spoke, its voice seemed to absorb sound rather than create it. "Son Goku," it intoned. "The collector's pupil. That's me, Goku stepped forward. And you are? I am Null, Herald of the Cleansing. The being gestured to the vortices above. What you call anti-ki, we call salvation. The rebalancing of cosmic forces. Rebalancing? Gohan questioned. You're actively destroying energy across the universe. Energy has grown unchecked for too long, Null replied. Gods of destruction who refuse to perform their function properly. Mortals wielding power beyond their understanding. The cosmic scales must be reset. By wiping out all life? Goku demanded. Life will adapt or perish. As it has always done. Null focused its featureless face on Goku again. The collectors have interfered where they should not. Teaching techniques meant to be forgotten. So you're here to stop us from using them, Goku realized. We are here to test whether you are worthy of such knowledge. Null raised a hand, and the other figures descended to flank it. Prove your mastery, Son Goku, or watch your world fade to nothing. Without further warning, Null attacked. Unlike Cypher's technical precision, Null's assault was pure negation, each strike aimed not to damage but to erase. Where its fist passed, matter simply ceased to exist, leaving emptiness in its wake. Goku dodged frantically, quickly realizing that conventional defense would be suicide. When he instinctively tried to power up to Super Saiyan, the transformation failed halfway, golden hair flickering before returning to black. Our presence nullifies your transformations, Null explained with what sounded like satisfaction. Your Saiyan heritage means nothing here. Around them, similar battles erupted as the other figures engaged Vegeta, Gohan, and the rest of Earth's defenders. All faced the same problem, their ki-based abilities were weakened or completely neutralized. Then I'll just have to use something else. Goku declared, shifting his stance to one of the forms Cypher had taught him. Drawing on the techniques he'd been practicing for months, Goku began moving differently, no longer attempting to generate or project energy, but instead manipulating the space around him, using Null's own attacks as fulcrums for counterstrikes. The void current, Null recognized the style. Impressive. But incomplete. Maybe, Goku acknowledged, narrowly avoiding another reality-erasing strike. But I've learned a few other things too. With that, he seamlessly transitioned into one of Chi-Chi's Ox King-style forms, using precise strikes at what he hoped were pressure points on Null's strange body. To his surprise and relief, the technique had effect, Null staggered back as if in pain. Physical techniques, the being hissed. Primitive but effective. I'm just getting started, Goku replied, confidence growing as he realized that all his months of training were paying off exactly as he'd hoped. Where ki failed, technique prevailed. He cycled through fighting styles with fluid grace, Tien's precise strikes, Yamcha's unpredictable movements, Rashi's weathered wisdom, all enhanced by the cosmic manipulation Cypher had taught him. Across the battlefield, the others began following his example. Vegeta, after a moment of frustrated rage when his final flash dissipated uselessly, resorted to the spacetime weapon technique he'd been perfecting, forming a blade of compressed reality that could cut through Null's minions. Piccolo abandoned energy attacks in favor of physical strikes enhanced by his stretching abilities. Gohan combined scholarly precision with raw martial skill. Even Krillin found success by relying on pure technique rather than energy. As the battle progressed, Goku felt something changing within him, a deeper understanding of how all these disparate styles connected. Each technique was not just a sequence of movements but a philosophy, a unique way of approaching conflict. And in their combination, he found something greater than the sum of its parts. You fight well for a mortal, Null admitted after taking a particularly effective combination of strikes. But the anti-ki continues to spread. Soon it will cover your entire world. Goku glanced up at the swirling vortices, which had indeed expanded to cover most of the visible sky. He could feel the wrongness of it, the fundamental negation of everything life-affirming in the universe. Then I'll just have to stop it at the source, he decided. Drawing on everything he had learned, every technique, every philosophy, every approach to combat from across the cosmos, Goku began a movement sequence unlike anything he had ever attempted. It wasn't just a technique but a meta-technique, a harmonization of all fighting styles into something transcendent. The others sensed what he was doing and instinctively moved to protect him, forming a perimeter against Null and its minions. "What is this?" Null demanded, genuine alarm in its voice for the first time. "What are you attempting?" Goku didn't answer, lost in the flow of what he was creating. As his movements continued, reality itself seemed to respond, not with the familiar surge of ki, but with something more fundamental. The space around him began to glow with the liquid light Cypher had shown them, pure life force drawn directly from the cosmic web of existence. "Stop him!" Null commanded its followers. "He must not complete the sequence." But it was too late. With a final, perfect movement that seemed to echo through dimensions, Goku released the technique, not as an attack, but as a restoration. The liquid light exploded outward in a wave that met the encroaching anti-ki directly, not fighting it but rebalancing it, integrating it into the natural order rather than allowing it to consume. Where the wave passed, the vortices stabilized, no longer expanding but becoming part of a larger pattern, darkness and light in harmony rather than opposition. Null stumbled back as if physically struck. "What have you done?" "What the previous masters couldn't," Goku replied, understanding flowing through him with perfect clarity. "They tried to fight the anti-ki, to push it away. But that's not how balance works. The technique of integration," Null whispered, recognition in its hollow voice. "Lost for millennia. How did you?" "I didn't learn it," Goku said simply. "I created it. By understanding every technique, I found the one that was missing." Around them, the other anti-ki beings were changing, their negative energy no longer chaotic and consuming but structured, purposeful. They looked to Null, who seemed to be undergoing a similar transformation. The cleansing was necessary, Null insisted, though with less conviction. The imbalance was real, Goku acknowledged. But destruction isn't the only answer to imbalance. Sometimes you need creation. Sometimes you need harmony. As he spoke, the sky continued to change. The anti-ki vortices remained, but transformed, no longer threats but new constellations, darkness that defined the light rather than extinguishing it. Null looked upward, its featureless face somehow expressing wonder. In all the cycles, this has never occurred. The anti-ki has always either consumed or been repelled. "Maybe that's the problem," Goku suggested. "Maybe. It's not supposed to do either. Maybe it's supposed to be part of everything, just like regular ki." The being considered this, its form shifting subtly. "Perhaps, there is wisdom in this perspective. A new balance." With those words, Null and its companions began to ascend toward the transformed vortices, their bodies becoming less solid, more integrated with the patterns above. "This is not an ending, Son Goku," Null called down. "Merely a new phase in the cosmic cycle. We will be watching your path with great interest." As the beings merged with the stabilized anti-ki patterns, the immediate sense of wrongness faded from the atmosphere. The sky remained changed, new constellations of darkness amid the stars, but no longer threatening. Exhausted but triumphant, Goku sank to his knees. His friends rushed to his side, all talking at once about what they had witnessed. "That was incredible!" Krillin exclaimed. "What did you do?" "I'm not entirely sure," Goku admitted with a laugh. "It just felt right. Like all the techniques I've been learning finally came together into something new." "You created a harmony between opposing forces," Gohan said thoughtfully. "Instead of trying to defeat the anti-ki, you made it part of the natural order. Balance instead of victory," Piccolo nodded approvingly. "Perhaps you have learned something after all, Goku." As they helped him to his feet, a familiar ripple appeared in the air before them. This time, 3 collectors materialized: Nexus, Prism, and Cypher. "Extraordinary," Nexus stated, colors swirling with what seemed like excitement. "In all our existence, we have never witnessed such an application of technique. You have not merely mastered existing knowledge, Cypher added. You have transcended it, creating something new from the synthesis of all you have learned. Goku grinned tiredly. Just did what felt right. And in doing so, may have changed the course of cosmic history, Prism noted. The anti-key event has been resolved without catastrophic loss, a first in our records. So we won? Godin asked excitedly, pushing his way to the front. Not won, Cypher corrected gently. Harmonized. A far more significant achievement. Nexus moved forward. Son Goku, the collectors have existed for eons with a singular purpose, to preserve knowledge. Today, you have shown us that preservation alone is insufficient. Knowledge must live, must grow, must evolve. I just wanted to become a better martial artist, Goku said modestly. And in that simple goal, you have perhaps become the greatest of all, Nexus replied. One who understands that true mastery lies not in accumulation but in integration. So what happens now? Chi-Chi asked, taking her husband's hand. Is the danger over? The immediate threat has passed, Prism confirmed. The anti-key has been integrated into your reality rather than opposing it. It will remain as a natural counterbalance to life energy, as perhaps it was always meant to. And the technique Goku created? Gohan inquired. The integration will be preserved among our most sacred knowledge, Nexus said. With your permission, Son Goku, we would record it for future generations across all universes. Of course, Goku agreed readily. Knowledge is meant to be shared, right? The collectors exchanged what appeared to be approving glances before Cypher spoke again. Your journey of mastery need not end here. There are countless techniques still to learn, infinite variations to explore. And I plan to learn as many as I can, Goku assured them. But maybe at a slightly less intense pace. He glanced at Chi-Chi with a sheepish smile. I think I owe my family some time too. A wise decision, Nexus acknowledged. Balance in all things, including life itself. As the collectors prepared to depart, Cypher approached Goku one last time. You have accomplished something I once thought impossible, true integration of all martial knowledge. The path ahead is yours to define now, unbound by tradition or limitation. Thanks for your help, Goku said. Sincerely. I couldn't have done it without your training. You would have found your way eventually, Cypher replied with confidence. Some souls are destined to transcend their teachers. With those parting words, the collectors faded from view, returning to their dimension between worlds. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Goku looked around at his friends and family, all exhausted but alive, all having contributed to this unexpected victory through their own unique strengths. So, Krillin broke the silence, breakfast anyone? Saving reality always makes me hungry. Laughter rippled through the group, releasing the tension of the night's events. As they turned toward Capsule Corp and the promise of food and rest, Goku felt a deep sense of satisfaction unlike anything he'd experienced before. He had set out to master every technique, driven by a fighter's natural desire to improve. Along the way, he had discovered something far more valuable, the understanding that true mastery wasn't about collecting techniques but about finding the harmony within them, the unifying principles that connected all martial knowledge. And in that understanding, he had perhaps become what he was always meant to be, not just the strongest fighter, but the truest martial artist, one who had learned that the greatest technique of all was balance itself. Chapter 2, Beyond Mortal Limits. The integration of anti-ki into the cosmic balance had unexpected effects. 3 weeks after the confrontation with Null, Goku sat cross-legged on a plateau overlooking his mountain home, trying and failing to perform a perfect Kamehameha. Damn it, he muttered as the blue energy wavered and dispersed before fully forming. Something felt off about his ki control, not dangerous, but different. The energy responded sluggishly, like trying to stir honey instead of water. Goku wiped sweat from his forehead and tried again, focusing on the movements Master Roshi had taught him decades ago. This time, the energy gathered properly between his cupped hands, swirling with familiar blue light, but when he thrust his palms forward, the beam twisted sideways, carving a jagged path through the air before fizzling out. Still having trouble? Goku turned to see Gohan climbing the rocky path toward him, a notebook tucked under his arm. Yeah. It's weird, I can feel my ki, but it's like, it doesn't want to move the same way anymore. Gohan nodded, unsurprised. Everyone's experiencing similar issues. Krillin called this morning, his Destructo disc keeps changing shape mid-flight. Piccolo says his special beam cannon fires at half strength but lasts twice as long. Is it because of the anti-ki integration? That's my theory. Gohan opened his notebook, showing pages of calculations and diagrams. By harmonizing with the anti-ki instead of destroying it, you fundamentally changed how energy works in our reality. It's like, he paused, searching for words his father would understand, like you changed the rules of the game. Goku scratched his head. So my old techniques won't work properly anymore. They'll work, just, differently. We all need to relearn energy control from the ground up. Gohan adjusted his glasses. But there might be an upside. What's that? If the basic rules of energy have changed, techniques that were previously impossible might now be viable. Goku's eyes lit up at this possibility. You mean I could learn entirely new abilities? Potentially, yes. Gohan snapped his notebook shut. Which is actually why I came looking for you. Bulma's been monitoring energy patterns worldwide, and she's detected some interesting anomalies. Specifically, around divine beings. Whis and Beerus. Them, yes, but also others, Supreme Kai, King Yema, even some of the lesser deities. Their energy signatures have changed more dramatically than ours, suggesting they've been more affected by the integration. Goku jumped to his feet, excitement replacing frustration. Then we should go talk to them. If anyone would understand these changes, it'd be the gods. My thoughts exactly. Gohan grinned at his father's enthusiasm. Mom packed lunch. She figured you'd be hungry after training all morning. She knows me so well, Goku laughed, already heading down the mountain. Let's grab it and go. I've been meaning to visit Beerus anyway, I bet he's got tons of techniques I haven't even seen yet. Beerus's planet looked the same as always, impossibly massive trees, bizarre floating structures, and gravity that would crush ordinary mortals. But something felt different as Goku and Gohan materialized near the central palace. The air itself seemed heavier, charged with an unfamiliar energy. You feel that? Goku whispered. Gohan nodded, looking around warily. It's like standing in a thunderstorm before lightning strikes. Well, a familiar voice drawled from behind them. The monkey finally returns. They turned to find Beerus lounging on a floating rock, tail swishing lazily. The god of destruction looked the same at first glance, but on closer inspection, something had changed. The purple energy that occasionally flared around him now contained streaks of deepest black. Hey, Lord Beerus. Goku called cheerfully. Sorry for dropping in unannounced. As if that's ever stopped you before, Beerus yawned, revealing sharp teeth. I assume you're here about the energy disruptions. Yeah. My techniques are all messed up. Gohan thinks it's because of what happened with the anti-ki. Beerus's ears twitched. Your son is correct. Your little harmonization trick has caused quite the commotion among the divine realms. The Grand Priest has called 3 emergency meetings already. Oops, Goku said, not sounding particularly sorry. Is it really that bad? Bad? No. Beerus floated down from his perch, landing lightly before them. Different? Absolutely. You've essentially rewritten a fundamental law of existence, Goku. Energy and anti-energy now exist in balance rather than opposition. And how does that affect gods like yourself? Gohan asked. A slow, unsettling smile spread across Beerus's face. Why don't I show you? Without warning, the destruction god raised one finger. Instead of the familiar purple energy sphere of his Hakai technique, what formed was a swirling orb of purple-black, shot through with white sparks like inverse lightning. This used to be pure destruction energy, Beerus explained. Now it's something else entirely. Watch. He flicked the orb toward a nearby boulder. Instead of disintegrating instantly as expected, the rock underwent a bizarre transformation, half crumbling to dust while the other half crystallized into something new, its structure reorganized rather than destroyed. Fascinating, Gohan breathed, already scribbling in his notebook. Destructive and creative forces working simultaneously. Precisely, came Whis' voice as the angel appeared beside them, staff in hand. Lord Beerus can no longer simply destroy, now he must also transform. Is that a problem? Goku asked, studying the half-destroyed, half-transformed rock with interest. It's an adjustment, Beerus replied cryptically. Though not an entirely unwelcome one. Destruction was becoming predictable. Whis tapped his staff on the ground, creating a ripple of multicolored light. The changes extend beyond mere destruction techniques. All divine abilities have been affected to varying degrees. Time manipulation, space folding, even my own power to rewind events, all function according to new parameters. Goku's eyes widened. So you'll have to relearn your techniques too. Indeed. Whis smiled serenely. Which brings us to the matter of your visit. I presume you wish to continue your quest to master every technique? Now including divine ones. You knew about that? The collectors are not the only ones who observe interesting developments across the universes. Whis twirled his staff casually. Your ambition has caught the attention of entities far beyond your comprehension, Son Goku. Good entities or bad entities? Goku asked pragmatically. Both. Neither. Whis shrugged elegantly. Such distinctions mean little at certain levels of existence. Beerus crossed his arms impatiently. Enough cryptic nonsense, Whis. Either help them or don't. Very well. Whis pointed his staff at a flat area nearby. Shall we begin with the basics of divine energy manipulation? I warn you, these techniques were difficult for mortals to master before. Now they may prove nearly impossible. Goku grinned, cracking his knuckles. Impossible just means I haven't figured it out yet. For the next several hours, Whis guided them through exercises unlike anything Goku had attempted before. Unlike mortal ki, which flowed from within, divine energy required drawing power from the fabric of reality itself. The simplest technique, creating a sphere of divine light, took Goku nearly an hour to accomplish, and even then, the sphere flickered uncertainly before vanishing. This is tougher than I thought, Goku admitted, sweat pouring down his face despite the relatively minor exertion. Divine techniques are not meant for mortal bodies, Whis explained patiently. Your physical form cannot naturally channel such energies. You must create a conduit, let's call it. Like what Cypher taught me about drawing from the cosmic life web. Whis raised an eyebrow. Similar, yes, though more refined. The collectors understand the principles but lack the finesse of true divine beings. No offense, but that Cypher guy seemed pretty finesse to me, Goku countered. His techniques were incredible. Because he has had millennia to perfect them, Whis replied. But a well-practiced imitation is still an imitation. Beerus, who had been watching with obvious amusement at Goku's struggles, finally stood. Let me show him a shortcut. Lord Beerus, Whis cautioned, that approach isn't traditional, yes, I know. Beerus waved dismissively. But neither is a mortal attempting to master divine techniques. Extraordinary circumstances call for extraordinary methods. The destruction god approached Goku, one clawed hand extended. Hold still. What are you going to? Goku began, but his words cut off as Beerus pressed a finger to his forehead. Pain unlike anything he'd experienced before coursed through Goku's body, not the familiar agony of physical damage, but something deeper, as if his very atoms were being rearranged. He might have screamed, he wasn't sure. For a moment that stretched into eternity, his consciousness fragmented, expanding outward to touch everything. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain stopped. Goku found himself on his knees, gasping for breath, while Gohan hovered anxiously beside him. "Dad! Are you okay? What did you do to him?" This last question directed accusingly at Beerus. The god of destruction looked unusually serious. "I gave him a glimpse." "A glimpse of what?" Gohan demanded. "Divinity." Beerus turned away, suddenly seeming tired. "How else do you expect him to understand divine techniques? Theoretical exercises would take decades. I simply accelerated the process." Goku slowly got to his feet, his body feeling strangely light, as if gravity had less hold on him. "That was, wow." Articulate as always, Beerus snorted, some of his usual sarcasm returning. "No, really, I felt connected to everything." Goku looked at his hands, which seemed perfectly normal yet somehow different. "Like I was part of something huge." "That's what divinity is," Whis explained quietly. "Not merely power, but connection. Gods exist as nexus points within the cosmic network, channeling and directing the fundamental forces of reality." "And you think I can learn to do that?" Goku asked. "Not fully, no. You remain mortal. But..." Whis studied him thoughtfully. "Lord Beerus has given you something unique, a divine perspective that most mortals never experience. With that foundation, certain techniques may now be within your grasp." Gohan looked concerned. "Will there be side effects?" "Almost certainly," Beerus replied bluntly. "But nothing life-threatening." "Probably. Probably." Gohan echoed. "It's never been done before," the god shrugged. "We're in uncharted territory." Goku, meanwhile, was already experimenting, reaching for the new awareness Beerus had awakened. To his surprise and delight, when he extended his hand and focused, divine energy responded, forming a perfect sphere of light above his palm. "I did it," he exclaimed, childlike wonder in his voice. "Whis, look." The angel smiled. "Indeed you have. And on your first attempt after Lord Beerus's intervention. Most impressive." For the remainder of the day, Goku's progress accelerated dramatically. Techniques that had seemed impossible hours before now came almost naturally. Not easily, each new ability still required intense concentration and precise control, but the fundamental barrier between mortal and divine had been temporarily bridged. By sunset, Goku had learned the basics of several divine techniques, reality anchoring, which allowed him to temporarily fix an object or person in place within spacetime. Divine perception, which expanded his senses beyond physical limitations, allowing him to detect energies and entities far beyond normal range. And most impressively, a rudimentary form of creation, the opposite yet complement to destruction, the ability to manifest objects or energies directly from thought. "That's enough for today," Whis finally announced as Goku successfully created a small flower from nothing, only for it to wither seconds later. "Your mortal form needs rest to process these new abilities." "But I feel fine." Goku protested, though the slight tremor in his hands betrayed his exhaustion. "You won't by morning," Beerus warned. "Divine energy takes a toll that isn't immediately apparent. Trust me, you'll want to be horizontal when it hits." Gohan, who had been documenting everything with scientific precision, closed his notebook. "He's right, Dad. Your key signature is fluctuating wildly. We should get home so you can recover." Goku reluctantly agreed, though his mind was already racing with the possibilities these new techniques presented. "Can I come back tomorrow?" he asked hopefully. Whis and Beerus exchanged glances. "Give it 3 days," the angel advised. "Allow your system to adjust. Then we can continue your training, provided you haven't exploded into pure energy by then." "That can happen?" Gohan asked, alarmed. "No," Whis reassured him. Then, after a pause, "Well, not usually. As Goku prepared to use instant transmission to return them home, Beerus approached one last time. One word of caution, Scion, the god said quietly. Divine techniques carry divine responsibility. They aren't toys to be played with or weapons to show off. They're tools for maintaining cosmic order. I understand, Goku replied, uncharacteristically serious. Do you? Beerus's eyes narrowed. Because there are entities watching you now that make the collectors seem insignificant, beings who take a dim view of mortals dabbling in divinity. Like who? Pray you never find out. Beerus turned away. 3 days, Goku. Not a moment sooner. With that ominous warning, they departed, leaving the god of destruction staring thoughtfully at the spot where they had stood. You took quite a risk, Whis observed, coming to stand beside his charge. Sharing divine essence with a mortal is forbidden under normal circumstances. These aren't normal circumstances, Beerus replied. You've seen the predictions as well as I have. Yes. Whis's usual light-hearted demeanor momentarily faded. The cosmic architects are moving. The question is whether Son Goku will be ready when they arrive. He'd better be, Beerus muttered. For all our sakes. Goku felt fine during the journey home, better than fine, actually. Energy hummed through his body in a way he'd never experienced, making him feel light and powerful. The instant transmission technique worked perfectly despite the energy disruptions affecting other abilities, depositing him and Gohan precisely on their front lawn. That was incredible. Goku exclaimed as soon as they materialized. Did you see what I did with that creation technique? I made a flower appear out of nowhere. I saw, Gohan smiled at his father's enthusiasm. Just remember what Lord Beerus said about taking it easy for a few days. Yeah, Goku waved dismissively. I feel amazing though. Maybe I'll practice a little tonight after dinner. Dad. Just small stuff. Nothing explosive, promise. Before Gohan could argue further, the front door flew open and Chi-Chi rushed out, her expression a mixture of relief and annoyance. Where have you been? She demanded. You've been gone all day. Sorry, Chi-Chi, Goku said, rubbing the back of his head. We were training with Whis and Beerus. Lost track of time. Chi-Chi's eyes narrowed suspiciously. You look different. Different how? I don't know. Glowy. She peered at him more closely. What did they do to you? Nothing bad. Goku assured her quickly. Beerus just helped me access divine energy so I could learn some new techniques. Divine energy? Chi-Chi's voice rose dangerously. Son Goku, please tell me you didn't let that temperamental cat god experiment on you. Gohan stepped in diplomatically. It was all controlled, Mom. I was there the whole time, taking notes. Dad's fine, just needs some rest. Humph. Chi-Chi was clearly not convinced but stepped aside to let them enter. Dinner's almost ready. Godin's been waiting to tell you about his day at school. As they moved toward the dining area, Goku suddenly stumbled, a wave of dizziness washing over him. Dad? Gohan caught his arm, steadying him. Just got a little lightheaded for a second, Goku said, shaking his head to clear it. Guess I'm hungrier than I thought. But by the time they reached the table, where Godin was already seated, Goku knew it was more than hunger. The divine energy that had felt so harmonious before was now churning within him, seeking equilibrium with his mortal ki and not finding it. Dad! Godin exclaimed excitedly. You won't believe what happened at school today. Trunks and I, the boy stopped mid-sentence, his eyes widening. Whoa, why are you glowing? Goku looked down at his arms, surprised to see a faint luminescence surrounding them, not his usual ki aura, but something softer, silvery white with occasional pulses of color. That's not supposed to happen, he admitted. Gohan, what's going on? Chi-Chi demanded, setting down the bowl of rice she'd been carrying. It's the divine energy stabilizing in his system, Gohan explained, though he looked concerned. Beerus said there might be side effects. Side effects? What kind of side effects? Chi-Chi's voice rose again. As if in answer, the room around them suddenly shifted, objects momentarily losing definition, walls becoming transparent, the ceiling seeming miles away rather than feet. Dad? Goten's voice sounded distant despite him sitting right across the table. What are you doing? I'm not doing anything. Goku protested, though he realized that wasn't entirely true. Somehow, his new divine perception ability had activated on its own, altering his, and apparently everyone else's, experience of reality. With concentrated effort, Goku managed to rein in the wayward energy, bringing the room back to normal. Sorry about that, he said sheepishly. Still getting the hang of these new abilities. Son Goku, Chi-Chi said with dangerous calm, what exactly did that cat god do to you? He kind of gave me a taste of divinity. To help me learn divine techniques faster. And nobody thought to ask what effect this might have on you. Or our home. Or your family. Each question came sharper than the last. Beerus did warn me, Goku admitted. He said I should rest for 3 days while my body adjusts. Then that's exactly what you're going to do, Chi-Chi declared, in a tone that brooked no argument. No training, no techniques, no transformations. Just rest. But, no buts. I'm not having reality falling apart at my dinner table because you can't follow simple instructions. Recognizing the futility of arguing, and feeling another wave of dizziness hit him, Goku relented. Okay. Rest it is. Dinner passed without further incident, though Goku noticed his food tasted strangely enhanced, flavors more vibrant, textures more defined. Another side effect of divine perception, he supposed. Not an unpleasant one, at least. By the time they finished eating, however, the true toll of the day's activities began to make itself felt. Every muscle ached with a deep, bone-penetrating fatigue unlike anything he'd experienced before. His vision occasionally blurred, reality seeming to shift around him in subtle ways. I think I need to lie down, he finally admitted, pushing away from the table with effort. Chi-Chi's anger immediately transformed to concern. Gohan, help your father to bed. Goten, bring some water and towels. With his family's assistance, Goku made it to the bedroom and collapsed onto the mattress, which seemed to simultaneously embrace him and repel him, another perceptual distortion from the divine energy. Will he be okay? He heard Chi-Chi ask Gohan in the hallway, her voice low but clear to his newly enhanced senses. I think so, Gohan replied, though he sounded less than certain. Beerus said the adjustment period would be rough but not life-threatening. I swear, when I see that purple cat again. Their voices faded as consciousness began to slip away from Goku, not into normal sleep but something deeper, more profound. As darkness claimed him, he felt himself expanding outward again, mind touching distant stars, awareness brushing against entities vast and ancient. And somewhere in that cosmic expanse, something noticed him back. Goku's rest period lasted exactly 36 hours, half the time Beerus had recommended, but significantly longer than anyone who knew him expected. When he finally emerged from the deepest sleep of his life, he found the house empty and a note from Chi-Chi explaining that she'd taken Goten shopping and expected him to continue resting. He stretched, surprised to find no lingering pain or fatigue. In fact, he felt incredible, refreshed and energized in a way that transcended his usual post-sleep recovery. The divine energy that had caused such chaos before now hummed harmoniously within him, integrated with his natural ki to create something new. Let's see if this actually worked, he murmured to himself, stepping outside into the morning sunlight. Centering himself, Goku reached for the divine awareness Beerus had awakened in him. It responded immediately, flowing through him with controlled precision. When he extended his hand, a perfect sphere of divine light formed above his palm, stable, radiant, and entirely under his command. Nice, he grinned, allowing the sphere to dissipate. Now for something more challenging. Focusing on the reality anchoring technique, Goku selected a leaf drifting down from a nearby tree. With a subtle gesture, he fixed it in space, freezing it midair without touching it or using any visible energy. The leaf hung perfectly still, defying gravity and wind, locked in its position within the fabric of reality itself. Even nicer, he said with satisfaction, releasing the leaf to continue its natural descent. For the next hour, Goku practiced the divine techniques he'd learned, finding them not only accessible but considerably easier to control than before. The integration period, painful as it had been, had apparently rewired his energy system to accommodate these new abilities. His experimentation was interrupted by the sudden appearance of a familiar energy signature approaching at high speed. Moments later, Vegeta landed in the clearing, arms crossed and expression characteristically severe. "So, you survived," the Saiyan Prince observed dryly. "Looks like it," Goku replied cheerfully. "What brings you here, Vegeta?" "Your son called. Said you were experimenting with divine energy." Vegeta's eyes narrowed as he studied Goku. "I can see he wasn't exaggerating. Your aura has changed. You can see it? Even when I'm not powering up." "Faintly. Like an afterimage surrounding you." Vegeta circled him slowly, examining the subtle changes. "What exactly did Beerus do to you?" Goku explained the previous day's training and Beerus's unconventional shortcut. "Reckless," Vegeta muttered when he finished. "Typical Kakarot, rushing headlong into unknown territory. Hey, it worked out fine. This time. Next time you might not be so lucky." Despite his critical tone, curiosity gleamed in Vegeta's eyes. "These divine techniques, are they truly effective? Wanna see?" Goku offered eagerly. Before Vegeta could respond, another voice interrupted them. Perhaps a demonstration for all interested parties would be more efficient. They turned to find Whis standing nearby, staff in hand and serene smile in place. "Whis. I thought Beerus said I needed 3 days of rest." "Indeed he did," the angel confirmed. "However, your recovery has progressed much faster than anticipated. Fascinating adaptation, really. Your Saiyan physiology continues to surprise us." "So I can continue training?" Goku asked hopefully. "With caution, yes." Whis tapped his staff on the ground, creating a shimmering circle around them. "But not here. There are matters developing that require more privacy." Before either Saiyan could question this cryptic statement, the circle expanded upward into a column of light, and the landscape around them dissolved. When their vision cleared, they found themselves not on Beerus's planet as expected, but in a realm unlike any they'd visited before. A vast, empty expanse stretched in all directions, not the blackness of space but a soft, pearlescent glow that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere. No horizon divided sky from ground, no landmarks broke the perfect uniformity. "Where are we?" Vegeta demanded, instinctively dropping into a defensive stance. "The null dimension," Whis replied calmly. "A space between spaces where energy manifestation has minimal impact on surrounding realities. The perfect location to practice divine techniques without collateral damage." "It's beautiful," Goku said, turning slowly to take in the featureless expanse. "But kinda boring." "That's rather the point." Whis smiled. "Here, you can focus without distraction, and without accidentally reshaping a mountain range if your control slips." "Has that happened?" Goku asked, suddenly concerned about the potential destructive capacity of what he was learning. "Let's just say there's a reason gods typically train in isolated locations." Whis's expression turned more serious. "Now, shall we continue where we left off?" The creation technique seemed particularly promising. For the next several hours, Goku immersed himself in divine training, with Whis guiding and Vegeta observing, at first with skepticism, later with grudging interest, and finally with barely concealed envy. The creation technique expanded from simple manifestations, flowers, rocks, water, to more complex constructs, functional tools, simple machines, even primitive living organisms that survived for increasingly longer periods before dissolving back into energy. Reality anchoring progressed from fixing objects in place to manipulating their temporal state, accelerating, slowing, or even briefly pausing their movement through time. Not true time manipulation as Whis could perform, but a limited application with tremendous potential in combat. Divine perception evolved from passive awareness to active scanning, allowing Goku to detect energy signatures across vast distances and even peer briefly into adjacent dimensions. Your affinity for these techniques is remarkable, Whis noted as Goku successfully created a butterfly that flew for nearly 5 minutes before fading away. Even accounting for Lord Beerus's intervention, few mortals could adapt so quickly. It feels natural somehow, Goku admitted. Like I've always been able to do this stuff but just didn't know how. Perhaps there's more to you than even you realize, Whis said cryptically. Vegeta, who had been silently watching for hours, finally spoke up. These divine abilities, are they compatible with Saiyan transformations? An excellent question, Whis turned to him. One I've been curious about myself. Shall we experiment, Goku? Goku nodded eagerly. Since awakening, he hadn't attempted any transformations, unsure how they might interact with his newly integrated divine energy. Centering himself, he reached for the familiar power of Super Saiyan. The transformation came easily, golden aura flaring around him, but immediately, he noticed a difference. The usual raw surge of power was there, but refined, controlled, almost elegant in its flow. And within the golden light, threads of silver divine energy wove complex patterns. Fascinating, Whis murmured, studying him intently. The divine essence is harmonizing with your Saiyan power, enhancing its efficiency rather than merely its output. Goku could feel the difference. His Super Saiyan state had always been about amplification, more power, more speed, more everything. Now it felt, smarter somehow. More precise. Let's take it further, he suggested, pushing into Super Saiyan 2. The transition was seamless, electricity crackling around his enhanced aura. Again, the divine energy adapted, creating new patterns within the transformation's framework. Your energy expenditure is approximately 40% lower than normal for this state, Whis observed. Yet your actual power output appears unchanged, possibly even increased. It feels easier, Goku confirmed. Like the transformation is working with me instead of me forcing it. Can you maintain divine techniques while transformed? Vegeta asked, clearly thinking of combat applications. In answer, Goku extended his hand. A sphere of divine light formed above his palm, then expanded and reshaped itself into a perfect replica of Shenron, detailed down to individual scales, hovering in the pearlescent void. Show off, Vegeta muttered, though his eyes betrayed his impression. Let's not attempt Super Saiyan 3 just yet, Whis cautioned as Goku appeared ready to push further. That transformation has always been particularly unstable. Let's establish full control of these states before testing the limits. Reluctantly, Goku powered down, the golden aura fading but the subtle silver glow of divine energy remaining. What about Ultra Instinct? Whis tapped his staff thoughtfully. Now that is an intriguing question. Ultra Instinct is already semi-divine in nature, a technique of the gods that you've somehow accessed. Its interaction with your new abilities could be unpredictable. Only one way to find out, Goku grinned. Perhaps another time, Whis said firmly. Even in this isolated dimension, some energy signatures can be detected by beings we prefer not to attract attention from just yet. You've mentioned that before, Vegeta noted suspiciously. Who exactly are we hiding from? Whis's perpetual smile dimmed slightly. There are hierarchies in the cosmos beyond what you currently comprehend. Gods of destruction like Lord Beerus, angels like myself, we are but middle management in the greater scheme. You mean like Zeno? Goku asked. Zeno represents absolute authority, yes, but there are others with different portfolios. Whis glanced upward, though in the featureless void, the gesture seemed meaningless. The cosmic architects, for instance, who establish and maintain the fundamental laws of reality across all universes. And they wouldn't like a mortal learning divine techniques? Goku guessed. They tend to take a conservative view regarding the separation of cosmic authorities, Whis confirmed delicately. Hence our discretion. Vegeta crossed his arms. So we're breaking divine law. Wonderful. Not breaking, precisely. Exploring ambiguities. Whis' smile returned. Besides, the current circumstances are unprecedented. The integration of anti-ki has altered cosmic constants that have remained fixed for billions of years. Old rules may no longer apply. Or they may be enforced more rigidly than ever, came a new voice, familiar yet changed. All three turned to see a ripple forming in the pearlescent void, from which stepped Cypher. The collector looked different from their previous encounters, his color-shifting form now contained streaks of the same silver-white divine energy that surrounded Goku. Cypher. Goku greeted him warmly. You look different. As do you, son Goku. The collector moved closer, studying him with obvious interest. Your integration of divine essence exceeds my projections. You knew about this? Vegeta demanded. The collectors observe all significant developments across the multiverse, Cypher replied smoothly. Including unauthorized sharing of divine essence with mortals. Whis raised an eyebrow. You disapprove? Quite the contrary. I have advocated for such experimentation for millennia. Cypher's form rippled with what might have been excitement. The artificial separation between mortal and divine has always struck me as arbitrary and inefficient. A minority view among your kind, I believe, Whis noted. Indeed. Which is why I come with a warning. Cypher turned back to Goku. The collector conclave has convened. Your actions, both the anti-ki integration and now your divine ascension, have forced a decision. What kind of decision? Goku asked, suddenly serious. Whether to preserve your techniques, or preserve you. Cypher's colors darkened. Nexus and the elders favor the latter, recording your innovations while removing the destabilizing variable you represent. They want to kill me? Goku didn't sound particularly alarmed, merely curious. Not kill. Preserve. Cypher emphasized the distinction. Your consciousness would be extracted and maintained within our archives, your knowledge accessible for eternity while your physical form would simply cease. That's not happening, Vegeta stated flatly, stepping forward. Obviously, Cypher agreed. Which is why I've broken protocol to warn you. The conclave dispatched Prism and 3 others to perform the preservation. They will arrive within 48 hours. Whis twirled his staff casually, though his eyes had hardened. They would attempt this despite knowing Son Goku's importance to this universe's stability. They believe his techniques can be preserved while removing the unpredictable element of his creativity. Cypher's tone made clear his disagreement with this assessment. So what do we do? Goku asked pragmatically. Fight them. Collectors cannot be destroyed in the conventional sense, Cypher explained. We exist partially beyond normal spacetime. Then we'll just have to get creative, Goku said with characteristic optimism. Speaking of which, you said you've advocated for mortals learning divine techniques. Does that mean you've studied them yourself? Cypher's form shifted slightly, colors swirling in complex patterns. I have experimented. With limited success. Those energy patterns in your form, that's divine essence, isn't it? Goku pointed to the silver-white streaks visible within Cypher's shifting colors. Perceptive. Yes, I've managed to integrate small amounts of divine energy into my collection matrix. Nothing approaching your level of assimilation, however. Goku grinned suddenly. Then. Let's help each other. You teach me more of your dimension-bending techniques, and I'll help you better integrate divine energy. An exchange? Cypher seemed surprised by the offer. Most beings would be reluctant to share such knowledge, especially with a potential adversary. Are you an adversary? Goku asked bluntly. Not currently, no. Then we're friends, and friends help each other. Goku's logic was simple but sincere. Whis cleared his throat delicately. While I admire your collaborative spirit, Goku, perhaps we should focus on the immediate concern, namely, the 4 collectors coming to preserve you. Right, Goku nodded. But learning more of Cypher's techniques might help with that, don't you think? He has a point, Vegeta admitted reluctantly. If these collectors exist partially beyond normal spacetime, conventional tactics won't work. We need to understand their nature to counter them. A pragmatic assessment, Cypher approved. Very well, I accept your offer of exchange. Though we should relocate. This dimension, while isolated, is not beyond the Conclave's monitoring. Whis tapped his staff thoughtfully. I know a suitable location, one shielded even from divine observation. Lord Beerus uses it for his more experimental destruction techniques. Perfect, Goku said enthusiastically. Let's go. As Whis prepared to transport them, Cypher moved closer to Goku, his voice dropping to ensure only the Scion could hear. There is another reason for my intervention, the collector confided. The architects are indeed watching, as Whis suggested. But they are not the only cosmic entities taking interest in your development. Who else? Goku whispered back. The nullifiers, beings who exist in direct opposition to the architects. Where the architects establish and maintain cosmic law, the nullifiers seek to rewrite it completely. And they're interested in me because you've done something they've attempted unsuccessfully for eons, integrated anti-key into the fabric of reality without catastrophic collapse. Cypher's colors darkened further. They view you as proof that cosmic constants can be safely altered. Is that good or bad? Neither. Both. Cypher's form rippled with what might have been a shrug. The architects enforce stagnation in the name of stability. The nullifiers court chaos in the name of evolution. Neither fully comprehends the value of balanced change. Which sounds like exactly what I did with the anti-key, Goku realized. Precisely why all parties are now watching you with such interest. Cypher moved away as Whis completed his preparations. Consider yourself at the center of a cosmic debate, son Goku. Your next moves may influence the fundamental nature of reality itself. No pressure, Goku muttered as Whis' transportation light engulfed them. Beerus' secret training dimension made the null dimension look positively lively by comparison. Here, not even the pearlescent glow existed, just absolute emptiness extending infinitely in all directions. The only illumination came from their own energy signatures, creating a surreal landscape of living light against perfect darkness. Cheery place, Vegeta commented dryly. Lord Beerus values privacy when experimenting with particularly unstable destruction techniques, Whis explained. This pocket dimension exists outside normal spacetime, created and maintained by his divine energy alone. That's why the collectors can't monitor it? Goku asked. Correct. It exists, in a sense, only for Lord Beerus, an extension of his divine authority. Others may enter by his permission, but none may observe from outside. Cypher studied their surroundings with obvious interest, his form providing additional illumination as he moved. Impressive. I've encountered similar constructs only among the highest echelons of reality shapers. Beerus has his moments, Whis acknowledged with a small smile. Now, shall we proceed with your knowledge exchange? I believe time may be somewhat limited. For the next several hours, an unprecedented transfer of techniques occurred between mortal, divine, and interdimensional beings. Cypher demonstrated abilities that defied conventional understanding of physics, phasing partially between dimensions, manipulating the boundaries between realities, even briefly splitting his consciousness across multiple points in spacetime. In return, Goku shared his rapidly evolving understanding of divine energy integration, showing Cypher how to harmonize the silver-white essence with his natural form rather than simply containing it. The collector proved an apt pupil, his form gradually stabilizing as the divine energy wove more completely into his matrix. Vegeta, never one to be left behind, demanded instruction in both areas, his royal scion pride temporarily set aside in favor of practical power acquisition. To everyone's surprise, he showed particular aptitude for the reality anchoring technique, using it with a precision that even Goku couldn't match. "Your control is exceptional," was noted as Vegeta successfully anchored multiple objects simultaneously, arranging them in a complex three-dimensional pattern. "Of course it is," Vegeta replied without modesty. "Precise control has always been my strength, while Kakarot relies on brute force and luck. Hey! I've gotten a lot better with control." Goku protested good-naturedly. "Both approaches have merit," Cypher observed diplomatically. "Raw power with intuitive application. Precise control with tactical forethought. Combined, they create something greater than either alone." "Which brings us to an important question," Whis interjected. "How do we apply these abilities against four collectors intent on preserving Goku?" Cypher's form shifted thoughtfully. Prism leads the preservation team. His specialty is energy pattern recording, essentially copying the signature of techniques for later study. The others will be support specialists, barrier generation, temporal manipulation, consciousness extraction. "Can they be defeated?" Vegeta asked bluntly. "Not destroyed, as I mentioned before," Cypher clarified. "But they can be dispersed. Forced back into our native dimension and prevented from reforming in this reality for some time." "How?" Goku pressed. "By disrupting their dimensional anchoring." Cypher demonstrated by partially phasing his arm out of their current reality, then reintegrating it. Collectors maintain a precise balance between dimensions to manifest physically. Destabilize that balance, and they must retreat to their home dimension to recalibrate. "And how exactly do we destabilize interdimensional beings?" Vegeta asked skeptically. Cypher turned to Goku. "That's where divine techniques become essential. Divine energy exists across all dimensions simultaneously. It's one of the few forces that can directly affect a collector's matrix. So I hit them with divine energy and they go poof." Goku simplified. "Not quite so straightforward, but essentially correct," Cypher confirmed. "Combined with specific dimensional disruption techniques I can teach you, it should prove effective." As they discussed strategy, Whis suddenly stiffened, his staff glowing brightly. "It seems our timeline has accelerated," the angel announced. "Lord Beerus informs me that 4 interdimensional distortions have appeared in Earth's atmosphere." "Your colleagues have arrived early, Cypher." "Impossible," the collector's colors flared with alarm. "The conclave protocols require at least 48 hours before preservation action." "Unless they suspected you might warn us," Vegeta pointed out grimly. "We need to return immediately," Goku said, all traces of his usual casual demeanor vanishing. "My family is safe for the moment," Whis assured him. "The collectors appear to be holding position in the upper atmosphere, likely conducting preliminary scans. Then we have a brief window to prepare," Cypher concluded. "Enough time for one final technique, perhaps the most important one." "What's that?" Goku asked. "Dimensional counterpoint," Cypher replied. "The ability to create a perfect inverse of any technique directed against you, neutralizing it completely." "You can teach me that in minutes?" Goku sounded doubtful for once. "No," Cypher admitted. "But I can help you understand the principle. Your natural ability to adapt may do the rest." As Whis prepared to transport them back to Earth, Cypher quickly outlined the fundamental concept of dimensional counterpoint, not a technique to be memorized, but an approach to energy manipulation that required intuitive understanding rather than practiced movements. "Think of it like creating anti-sound waves that cancel noise," the collector explained. "You're not blocking the incoming technique but generating its perfect opposite, resulting in mutual nullification." "That sounds incredibly complex," Vegeta observed. For most beings, yes, Cypher agreed. But Son Goku has demonstrated remarkable intuitive understanding of energy patterns. And with his newly integrated divine essence. The collector turned to Goku. It may be possible. If it works, it would neutralize the preservation technique completely. And if it doesn't? Goku asked. Then we proceed with the original plan, disruption and dispersal. Cypher's form began to shift in preparation for transport. Either way, the next few hours will be educational. Always looking at things from a collector's perspective, Goku laughed, though there was tension behind the sound. It's what we do, Cypher replied simply. We observe, we learn, we preserve. The difference is that some of us believe knowledge should serve life, not the other way around. With those words hanging in the void, Whisa's transportation light engulfed them once more, whisking them back to Earth and the confrontation that awaited. They materialized on the lookout, finding Dend and Mr. Popo already watching the sky with concerned expressions. Above them, for distortion patterns were visible even to normal sight, rippling tears in reality that hung like malevolent stars over the Earth. They're containing their influence to the upper atmosphere for now, Dend reported immediately. But I can sense them scanning the planet's energy patterns, looking for something. For me, Goku said grimly. They're collectors here to preserve my techniques. By removing you from existence, Vegeta added bluntly. Den's eyes widened. Can they do that? They can try, Goku replied, a determined edge to his voice that his friends rarely heard. Cypher moved to the edge of the lookout, studying the distortions with what appeared to be professional assessment. Prism has brought specialists, as I anticipated. Vortex for containment, Chronal for temporal manipulation, and, interesting. The fourth is Axiom, an elder I didn't expect to participate directly. Is that bad? Whis inquired. It complicates matters. Axiom specializes in foundational principles, the fundamental laws that govern technique formation. His presence suggests they intend not just preservation but comprehensive analysis. Meaning? Vegeta pressed. Meaning they want to understand how Goku created the integration technique, not simply record it. Cypher turned back to them. They seek to replicate his innovation without the inconvenience of his continued existence. Flattering, Goku commented dryly. So what's our plan? Wait for them to come down or go up to meet them? Neither, Cypher decided after a moment. We should create neutral ground, a liminal space where neither side has advantage. And how do we do that? Dend asked. In answer, Cypher turned to Goku. Your creation technique. Combined with my dimensional manipulation. Together, we can manifest a meeting plane between realities. Goku nodded, understanding immediately. Stepping forward, he reached for the divine energy now flowing smoothly within him. It responded eagerly, surrounding him with silver-white light that illuminated the entire lookout. Cypher moved to stand beside him, his form shifting into more defined patterns as he accessed the divine essence Goku had helped him integrate. Together, they extended their hands toward the open sky, energy flowing between them in complex weaves. What we create exists neither fully in this dimension nor in the collector's native realm, Cypher explained as reality began to ripple before them. A neutral territory where preservation techniques will be hindered but communication remains possible. You're hoping to negotiate? Vegeta sounded skeptical. Ideally, yes. Collectors value knowledge above all. If we can demonstrate that Goku's continued existence offers more knowledge than his preservation. You think they'll just change their minds? Goku asked without breaking his concentration on the forming dimensional pocket. The conclave can be pragmatic when presented with compelling evidence, Cypher replied. And if negotiation fails, the neutral ground still provides tactical advantages for our alternative approach. As they worked, the distortions in the sky responded, moving closer together and descending slowly. Clearly, the other collectors had detected their activity and were investigating. They're coming, Dend warned unnecessarily. Good, Goku said, completing the final energy pattern. Because we're ready. Before them hung a perfect sphere of reality approximately 30 feet in diameter, a bubble of existence that shimmered with boundaries both solid and permeable. Inside, a simple platform of white stone provided footing within an otherwise empty space. Impressive, Whis commented, studying the construct with professional interest. A true liminal space, existing simultaneously in multiple dimensional states. Now we wait, Cypher said, his form stabilizing as he completed his contribution to the space. They will have recognized my energy signature within the construct. Curiosity alone will bring them to investigate. He was right. Within minutes, the 4 distortions had descended to hover directly above the lookout. Unlike Cypher's humanoid manifestation, these remained in their natural state, rippling tiers in the fabric of reality, each with distinct patterns and colorations. One of the distortions expanded, forming into a vaguely familiar shape, Prism, whom Goku had met previously. The collector's form seemed more rigid than before, colors flowing in precise, controlled patterns rather than the fluid shifts Goku remembered. Cypher, Prism projected into their minds. Your actions constitute violation of Conclave Directive and Preservation Protocol. Noted, Cypher replied calmly. Yet perhaps justifiable under exception clauses regarding unique knowledge acquisition. The Conclave has ruled. Preservation will proceed. Prism's attention shifted to Goku. Son Goku, your techniques will be honored and maintained within our archives for eternity. Your contribution to martial knowledge will outlast stars. Thanks, but I'm not done making contributions yet, Goku replied, crossing his arms. Got lots more techniques to develop. Indeed, Cypher interjected. Which is precisely why preservation at this juncture would be premature. Son Goku's development continues to yield unprecedented innovations. His integration technique alone represents a breakthrough that the Conclave has sought for millennia. The largest distortion pulsed, then formed into a more substantial figure, clearly older and more complex than the others, with layer upon layer of shifting patterns within its semi-transparent form. Axiom, Cypher acknowledged with what might have been a slight bow. An honor unexpected. Your activities warranted direct observation, the elder collector communicated, its mental voice deeper and more resonant than Prism's. Particularly your unauthorized sharing of collection techniques with a mortal subject. A necessary adaptation to unprecedented circumstances, Cypher defended. The subject demonstrates unique synthetic capabilities that the standard preservation process would fail to capture. As they spoke, Goku noticed the other 2 distortions moving subtly, positioning themselves around the dimensional bubble he and Cypher had created. He caught Vegeta's eye, giving an almost imperceptible nod that the Scion Prince returned. They'd anticipated this, talks were merely a distraction while the specialists prepared for capture. We have created neutral ground for discussion, Goku interrupted, gesturing to the dimensional bubble. A place where we can talk without either side having advantage. Will you join us there to discuss alternatives? The collectors paused, clearly communicating among themselves in some private fashion. Finally, Axiom's form shifted forward. We will enter your construct for discussion, the elder decided. Though we recognize the tactical purpose behind its creation. Just being careful, Goku said with a disarming smile. You guys did come to preserve me, after all. Without further comment, Axiom flowed into the dimensional bubble, followed by Prism. The other 2 collectors remained outside, maintaining their positions around the construct. Goku glanced at Cypher, who gave a subtle indication that this was expected. Nodding, Goku stepped forward, entering the bubble himself with Cypher just behind him. To everyone's surprise, Whis also floated forward, entering the neutral space with casual grace. An angel observes, Axiom noted. The divine realms take interest in these proceedings. Merely professional curiosity, Whis replied lightly, though his eyes were sharp. Technique preservation is such a fascinating concept. Inside the bubble, reality felt different, sounds muted, movements slightly delayed, colors both more vivid and somehow flatter. The true nature of liminal space, existing in multiple states simultaneously. State your proposal, axiom directed at Cypher. Why should the conclave rescind its preservation order? Cypher's form straightened, taking on a more formal aspect. Son Goku represents an unprecedented subject in collector history, a being capable of not merely mastering techniques but creating entirely new categories of technique through intuitive synthesis. Many beings innovate, Prism countered. Innovation alone does not justify exemption. Not innovation, transformation, Cypher corrected. The integration technique he created doesn't merely add to existing knowledge, it fundamentally alters our understanding of energy manipulation across all disciplines. Goku listened with interest, fascinated by Cypher's formal presentation of arguments. This was a side of the collector he hadn't seen before, the methodical scholar rather than the technique master. More significantly, Cypher continued, preliminary analysis suggests Son Goku has only begun his developmental arc. The combination of Scion adaptive biology, mortal creativity, and newly integrated divine essence creates a knowledge generation system of unprecedented potential. Which is precisely why preservation is indicated, Axiom responded. Such potential presents unknown variables too significant to leave uncontrolled. Or too significant to truncate prematurely, Cypher countered. Standard preservation captures only existing knowledge, not potential knowledge. We would preserve a snapshot while losing the possibility of future breakthroughs. As they debated, Goku sensed subtle energy shifts within the bubble. The collectors were testing its boundaries, probing for weaknesses while maintaining the appearance of good faith negotiation. I have a question, Goku interjected suddenly, causing all parties to turn toward him. This preservation process, it would record my techniques but basically kill me, right? Your physical form would cease, Prism confirmed. Your knowledge and consciousness would persist within our archives. As what, exactly? Would I be aware? Could I continue to develop new techniques? The collectors exchanged what might have been uncomfortable glances. Preserved consciousness exists in a state of suspended animation, Axiom finally explained. Accessible for study but not independently active. So I'd be frozen. Unable to think, create, or grow. Goku nodded as if considering this. Sounds pretty boring, to be honest. The purpose is knowledge preservation, not subject entertainment, Prism noted dryly. Yeah, but here's the thing, Goku stepped forward, his casual demeanor belying the alert readiness Whis could detect in his stance. I'm not done learning yet. Every day I discover something new, combine techniques in ways nobody's tried before. If you preserve me now, you're getting version 1 when version 1000 might be right around the corner. An oversimplification, but not inaccurate, Cypher supported. Axiom's form shifted, patterns suggesting deep consideration. Your argument has merit from a knowledge optimization perspective. However, the risk assessment can be mitigated, Cypher interrupted. I propose conditional monitoring rather than preservation. The conclave assigns observers to document Son Goku's ongoing development while establishing containment protocols should truly destabilizing techniques emerge. The subject has already integrated anti-ki into base reality, Prism pointed out. Destabilization has occurred. And resulted in a more balanced cosmic system, Whis interjected smoothly. One might argue an improvement rather than a disruption. The debate continued, growing increasingly technical as the collectors discussed knowledge theory, risk assessment, and preservation protocols. Throughout, Goku maintained his relaxed posture while remaining acutely aware of the energy manipulations occurring around them. The two collectors outside the bubble had begun a subtle technique, not an attack, but a gradual alteration of the dimensional pocket itself, preparing it for what Goku assumed would be the preservation process. Catching Cypher's eye, he gave a small nod. The friendly collector acknowledged with an almost imperceptible shift in his patterns. Their plan was ready if negotiation failed. A compromise may be possible, Axiom finally announced. Partial preservation, recording current knowledge while allowing continued development under direct collector supervision. Partial preservation. Goku asked suspiciously. What does that involve exactly? A limited consciousness extraction, Prism explained. Creating a duplicate of your current knowledge state while leaving your primary consciousness intact. Goku looked to Cypher, who subtly indicated caution. That sounds reasonable, he said carefully. But I'd need to understand exactly how this extraction would work. A simple procedure, Axiom stated, moving closer. Requiring only momentary contact. As the Elder Collector approached, Goku sensed the trap closing, the dimensional bubbles subtly shifting to become more solid, more fixed. Outside, the two specialist collectors had completed whatever preparation they'd been working on. Now? Goku asked Cypher quietly. Now, the friendly collector confirmed. With practiced synchronization, Goku and Cypher activated their planned countermeasure. Goku channeled divine energy in a specific pattern Cypher had taught him, while the collector performed a complex dimensional folding technique. Together, the energies created exactly what they'd intended, a dimensional inversion that turned the bubble inside out. In an instant, positions reversed, the two collectors who had been outside were now trapped within the bubble, while Axiom and Prism found themselves outside with Vegeta, Dend, and the others. What is this? Axiom demanded, form rippling with what might have been shock. Insurance policy, Goku explained cheerfully. Just in case talks didn't work out. Before the collectors could respond, Goku activated the second phase of their plan. Drawing on the reality anchoring technique Whis had taught him, enhanced by Cypher's dimensional manipulation, he locked the bubble in place, not just physically but dimensionally, preventing the trapped collectors from shifting back to their native realm. They're contained temporarily, Cypher announced. But not indefinitely. Long enough for a genuine negotiation? Goku asked. Perhaps. Cypher turned to Axiom. Elder, the situation has changed. Son Goku has demonstrated technique synthesis beyond even my projections, combining divine reality anchoring with dimensional inversion in a way no collector has achieved. Axiom's form pulsed with complex patterns as the Elder assessed the situation. The containment of collectors by a mortal is unprecedented. And provides further evidence for our argument, Cypher pressed. Imagine what knowledge might be lost if preservation proceeds prematurely. For several tense moments, no one spoke. The trapped collectors moved within their bubble, testing its boundaries but finding no weakness in the divine-dimensional hybrid containment. Finally, Axiom's form stabilized into a more formal configuration. The circumstances warrant reconsideration. I will return to the conclave with new evidence and advocate for monitoring rather than preservation. And them? Goku nodded toward the contained collectors. Release them as a demonstration of good faith, Axiom requested. Their containment has been recorded and will serve as evidence of your capabilities. Goku looked to Cypher, who gave a subtle affirmative signal. With a gesture, Goku released the reality anchoring technique while Cypher reversed the dimensional inversion. The bubble collapsed, freeing the two specialist collectors, who immediately retreated to positions near Axiom. This isn't over, Cypher, Prism warned. Your actions will be reviewed by the conclave. As they should be, Cypher acknowledged calmly. All knowledge should face scrutiny, including our own methodologies. Without further comment, the four collectors began to fade, their forms becoming increasingly transparent until they vanished completely, leaving only briefly lingering distortions in the air above the lookout. Did we just win? Goku asked after a moment of silence. Temporarily, Cypher replied. Axiom is influential within the conclave. His first-hand observation of your capabilities will carry significant weight. But? Vegeta prompted, recognizing the qualification in Cypher's tone. But the fundamental conflict remains. Your continued development represents both invaluable knowledge potential and unknowable risk. Cypher's colors shifted to thoughtful blue hues. The conclave will debate, but a permanent resolution will require more than clever tactics. What will you do now? Goku asked. Won't you be in trouble for helping us? Undoubtedly, Cypher acknowledged without apparent concern. However, I have been challenging collector orthodoxy for centuries. This is merely the most recent example. Will you return to them? Whis inquired. Cypher seemed to consider this carefully. Not immediately. My effectiveness as an advocate depends on continuing to gather evidence supporting my position. With your permission, Son Goku, I would observe your further development, documenting the knowledge creation process that the standard preservation protocol would fail to capture. You want to hang around and watch me train? Goku translated with a grin. Fine by me. You can teach me more of those dimension-bending moves while you're at it. A mutually beneficial arrangement, Cypher agreed, colors brightening. Though discretion may be advisable. The conclave will be monitoring more closely now. Speaking of monitoring, Whis interjected smoothly, I believe Lord Beerus will want a full report on these developments. The involvement of collectors in his domain is something he takes rather seriously. Of course, Cypher inclined what passed for his head. I would welcome the opportunity to address any concerns the god of destruction might have. As they prepared to depart the lookout, Dend approached Goku with an unusually serious expression. These divine techniques you're learning, the young guardian began hesitantly. They're changing you, Goku. I can sense it in your energy signature. Changing how? Goku asked, genuinely curious. It's subtle, but, your connection to Earth is different now. More distant, as if you're partially existing in another plane. Goku frowned slightly. I don't feel any different. Well, stronger, yeah, and the techniques are amazing, but I'm still me. For now, Den said quietly. Just, be careful. Divine power wasn't meant for mortal vessels. There's a reason gods and mortals remain separate. A perspective increasingly challenged by recent events, Cypher noted, overhearing the exchange. The integration of anti-ki has already altered many cosmic constants. Perhaps the division between mortal and divine is another artificial boundary ready for reconsideration. Dend looked troubled but didn't argue further. Safe travels, Goku. And remember, Earth needs you as you are, not as a deity. With those parting words lingering in his mind, Goku joined the others as Whis transported them to Beerus's planet for what promised to be an interesting debriefing. Beerus took the news of the collector confrontation with surprising equanimity, lounging on his floating throne while Whis recounted the events. So the techniques worked, the destruction god noted when Whis finished. Divine energy successfully countered interdimensional beings. Interesting. More than countered, Whis corrected. When combined with Cypher's dimensional manipulation, it actually contained them, something previously thought impossible. Beerus's eyes shifted to Goku, who stood somewhat awkwardly beside Cypher. You continue to surprise me, Scion. Most mortals would have been overwhelmed by divine essence, yet you've not only adapted to it but weaponized it in new ways. I just did what felt natural, Goku shrugged. That's what concerns me, Beerus replied, tail swishing thoughtfully. Your natural instincts now operate on principles beyond mortal understanding. You're becoming something, undefined. Is that bad? It's unprecedented, Beerus clarified. And in cosmic terms, unprecedented usually means dangerous. Cypher moved forward slightly. If I may, Lord Beerus, the precedent does exist, though in ancient records rarely accessed. The boundary between mortal and divine has been crossed before. This caught Beerus's attention. Explain. In the earliest cycles of the multiverse, distinctions between cosmic roles were less rigid. Beings moved between states of existence more fluidly, mortals ascending to divinity, gods choosing mortal experience for various purposes. Ancient history, Beerus dismissed. The cosmic hierarchy has been fixed for billions of years for good reason. Yet exceptions persist even now, Cypher countered respectfully. The Super Saiyan God ritual temporarily elevates mortals. The God of Destruction role can be filled by former mortals. Ultra instinct transcends the mortal-divine distinction entirely. Beerus narrowed his eyes. You seem remarkably well informed about cosmic matters for a collector. Knowledge is our purpose, Cypher replied simply. And cosmic organization represents the most fundamental knowledge category. The destruction god studied the collector for a long moment before turning back to Goku. Your new friend raises valid points, Scion. The boundaries may be more permeable than current doctrine suggests. Still, there are risks in pushing too far, too fast. What kind of risks? Goku asked. Beyond the obvious attention from entities like the architects. Beerus sat up straighter. Physical incompatibility. Divine essence exists across all dimensions simultaneously. Mortal bodies exist in one primary dimension with limited extension into others. The contradiction creates strain. I feel fine, Goku insisted. For now, Beerus echoed Den's earlier warning. But I can see the pressure building in your energy signature. Your Scion physiology is adapting remarkably well, but there will be limits. What happens when I reach those limits? Beerus and Whis exchanged glances before the destruction god answered. Traditionally, spontaneous ascension or spontaneous disintegration. Neither particularly comfortable, from what I understand. Well, that's direct, Goku said after a moment. Lord Beerus excels at directness, Whis noted with a small smile. So I should stop learning divine techniques? Goku asked, clearly disappointed by the prospect. Not necessarily, Beerus surprised him by saying. The integration has begun. Halting now would likely cause more problems than continuing. But you need stabilization. What kind of stabilization? A limiter, Cypher suggested, earning surprised looks from both divine beings. A technique to channel excess divine essence safely when it approaches critical levels. You've given this thought, Whis observed. I've observed similar phenomena across multiple realities, the collector confirmed. When boundaries between existent states blur, containment structures become necessary for stability. Beerus studied Cypher with renewed interest. And you could teach such a technique? Not alone. It would require elements of divine knowledge beyond my expertise. Cypher turned to Whis. With your assistance, however. The angel tapped his staff thoughtfully. A cooperative approach might indeed yield results. Divine structure, interdimensional flexibility, and mortal adaptability, together they could create a functional limiter. Then let's do it, Goku said decisively. I'm not giving up on learning new techniques, but I don't want to explode either. A reasonable position, Beerus commented dryly. Very well. Whis, work with the collector to develop this limiter. In the meantime, he fixed Goku with a stern look, no more divine techniques until the stabilization is in place. Practice what you've learned if you must, but add nothing new. Understood? Understood, Goku agreed, though his enthusiasm remained undimmed. How long will it take to create this limiter thing? Several days at minimum, Whis estimated. The principles are complex and must be perfectly aligned with your specific energy signature. Great. That gives me time to work on combining the techniques I've already learned. Goku turned to Vegeta, who had been uncharacteristically quiet throughout the exchange. Want to help me test them out? The Scion Prince scoffed. As if you need to ask. I've been watching you play with divine power long enough. Time to see how it holds up in a proper fight. While you Scions entertain yourselves, we have work to do, Whis said, gesturing for Cypher to follow him. The creation of a cosmic limiter requires precision. As the angel and collector departed to begin their work, Beerus settled back into his throne, eyes still fixed thoughtfully on Goku. You've started something, Scion, the destruction god said quietly. Something bigger than you realize. Story of my life, Goku replied with a grin, before following Vegeta to the training area. For 3 days, Goku and Vegeta pushed their abilities to the limit in Beerus's training dimension while Whis and Cypher worked on the cosmic limiter. The Scions focused on combat applications of their new techniques, finding creative ways to combine divine and interdimensional abilities with their natural fighting styles. Vegeta, true to form, mastered the reality anchoring technique to devastating effect, freezing opponents in place for precisely timed attacks. His royal pride initially resisted the trickery of interdimensional methods, but pragmatism eventually won out as he recognized their tactical advantages. Goku, meanwhile, discovered that his divine perception could be extended into combat awareness, a complement to Ultra Instinct that allowed him to sense not just physical attacks but energy manipulations across multiple dimensions. Combined with the creation technique, he could generate countermeasures to attacks before they fully manifested. On the fourth day, as they completed an especially intense sparring session, Whis and Cypher appeared in the training dimension. "It is ready," the angel announced, holding what appeared to be a simple silver bracelet. Though ready may be optimistic. Theoretically functional would be more accurate. Goku wiped sweat from his forehead, powering down from Super Saiyan. "That's the limiter. Looks like regular jewelry. Its physical form is merely a focal point," Cypher explained. "The actual limiter exists across 17 dimensions simultaneously, anchored to this visible manifestation. The principle is elegant in its simplicity," Whis continued, holding up the bracelet. "Divine essence naturally seeks expansion. Your current difficulties stem from this essence having nowhere to go within a mortal container. The limiter provides an outlet, channeling excess energy into a stable containment field. So it's like a pressure valve?" Goku guessed. "Precisely," Cypher confirmed. "When divine energy approaches critical levels within your system, the limiter will activate automatically, siphoning the excess into an interdimensional pocket where it can safely dissipate." "Neat." Goku extended his arm enthusiastically. "Let's try it." "A moment," Whis cautioned. "There is one significant limitation you should understand. The device cannot be removed once attached, at least, not without potentially catastrophic consequences." Goku's arm lowered slightly. "What kind of consequences?" "The limiter will integrate with your energy signature across all dimensions," Cypher explained. "Removing it would create a sudden dimensional vacuum, potentially drawing your consciousness across the boundary between physical and non-physical existence. You'd be yanked out of your body," Vegeta translated bluntly. "Not ideal." "Oh." Goku considered this. "So it's permanent?" "Until such time as you either fully ascend to divinity or fully relinquish divine essence, yes," Whis confirmed. "A significant commitment." Goku thought for only a moment before extending his arm again. "Worth it. I'm not giving up these new techniques, and I definitely don't want to explode." "Your decisiveness continues to impress," Cypher noted, colors shifting in what might have been approval. Whis placed the silver bracelet around Goku's wrist. The moment it closed, it seemed to melt into his skin, becoming a thin silver band that looked almost like a tattoo encircling his wrist. "Whoa," Goku stared at it in fascination. "I can feel it connecting to something. Like it's extending inside me but also outside at the same time. The interdimensional anchoring is establishing itself," Cypher explained. "The sensation should stabilize shortly." For several seconds, Goku experienced a strange pulling feeling, as if parts of him were being gently tugged in multiple directions simultaneously. Then, abruptly, everything settled into a new equilibrium. The divine energy that had been building pressure within his system now flowed smoothly, regulated by the limiter's subtle influence. "This feels right," he said with some surprise. "Like something that was out of tune is now in harmony." "A promising initial response," Whis noted. "Now for a proper test. Please access your divine energy at maximum output." Goku nodded, then centered himself and reached for the divine essence integrated within his ki. It responded immediately, surrounding him with brilliant silver-white light that illuminated the entire training dimension. He pushed further, drawing on more and more divine power until he felt the familiar pressure building in his system. Just as the pressure approached uncomfortable levels, the limiter activated. The silver band on his wrist glowed with the same light that surrounded him. Something went wrong with this response, please try again. Begin writing what comes in the next chapter. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.